Douluo, leave everything on autopilot and become a god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 DMUBAIN-039 S Hope. Great battlefield point. The tall and thin man was restrained by Xiao Wu and could not escape Hu Jiu's spirit power atomization zone point in an instant. Soul power invaded. The tall and thin man's body froze and his speed instantly slowed down. Raw. Watch the fight. At this moment, the bull who turned on the berserk mode finally chased after him. Hu Jiu didn't have time to expand his victory. A teleportation appeared behind him, and the blade of his palm flashed, like a cunning monkey, surrounding the bull and the strong man, all around him, leaving many wounds of varying depths. And Xiao Wu also started to exert her strength at this time point, facing the tall and thin man whose speed was limited. Xiao Wu had an absolute advantage. With her speed and hand knife, she literally beat him with scars. They won. Under the Dao Soul stage, the master made a light evaluation, and the affirmative tone was full of confidence. The main thing is that Xiao Jiu is too comprehensive. His attack methods, speed, and physical fitness have been improved in an all-round way, and he basically has no weaknesses. Tang San nodded, also anticipating the outcome of the next battle. Master, if you face an opponent like Hu Jiu, do you have any good ideas? Daimubei looked at the master. In the academy, Hu Jiu is the strongest right now. In name, he is still the boss of day. But in fact, it only refers to age. In terms of strength, he is no longer the boss of the academy point. Therefore, Daimubei had always longed to defeat Hu Jiu and make himself the real boss. Strength, as long as you are stronger than him, you can defeat him. The master said expressionlessly. It's their strength? I will have it. Daimubei's fighting intent was boiling. He suddenly raised his head and looked at Grandmaster seriously. Master, can I accept your training? I want to become stronger. My training is very hard. At the moment, no one can persevere to the end except the junior. Looking at Daimubei's sincere eyes, after thinking about it for a while, Grandmaster did not directly refuse. I'm not afraid of hardship. Let me try it. Daimubei said respectfully. His desire for strength made him ignore the pain he might face. I can teach you, but I can't teach you in vain. There is also a special training for you. I need to prepare some herbs to help you recover. The cost of this will not be small. The master looked at Daimubei with bright eyes and said, point money. Since there is no money to buy Hu Jiu's cultivation carrot, the master has been making money, and one of the current sources is this big battlefield. For several months, he has been participating in the main battlefield. As long as you have seen the information of the contestants, you can estimate the victory or defeat. After a period of time, you have actually made a lot of money point, but that wasn't enough. No one would think too much money. Daimubei was recognized as a rich man in the academy, so Grandmaster would not refuse point. Moreover, helping Daimubei to cultivate. How could he quickly improve his cultivation without Hu Jiu's carrot? Master, money is not an issue, as long as you promise to help me train. Hearing that master asked for money, Daimubei breathed a sigh of relief. Very good. Come to the grove with Xiao Zhan tomorrow, and wait for me. The master nodded, glanced at the battle that had ended, turned and left in the direction of the main battlefield point. Flend left a sentence and asked them to return to the academy by themselves and hurriedly follow in the footsteps of the master. During this period of time, he followed the master and made a lot of money in the soul arena. Boss day, isn't it? You dare to let the master train you? You're dying? After Flender and the master left, Oscar said with an exaggerated expression, Tang San can persevere, why can't I? And I have reasons why I have to become stronger. Daimubei clenched his fists, evil energy flashing in his eyes. Yes, what is a little bit of hard training compared to doomed to failure and death? Of course, this was also the decision he made after thinking about it for a long time, when he discovered that Tang San's strength had been greatly improved under the training of Grandmaster. Boss day, your decision is correct. Following the teacher, you will definitely become stronger. Tang San looked at Daemube with encouraging eyes as a disciple. Only he knows how eager the master is to prove himself, and training students is also his method of proving himself. Now that Daemube joins, Tang San ignites hope. Then he looks at Mahanjan. Hanjan, do you want to train with us too? Hearing the words, Mahanjan immediately shook his head when he thought of the training that Oscar and he had introduced. No need. With the help of Brother 9, I don't need to undergo another training. Hey, fatty, what's going on? Oscar suddenly caught the point of Mahanjan's words. No wonder he clearly felt that his cultivation speed had increased during this period of time. There is an inside story. This. Mahanjan was stunned. Sorry, he seemed to have exposed Brother 9's secret. There's nothing to say about this. You probably don't know the effect of my first spirit ring. At this moment, Hu Jiu's voice came from afar with his 5 senses. Everything that happened here had not escaped his perception, including the scene where Daemube was being trained by the master. The first spirit ring. Daemube and the others were stunned when they heard the words. Yes, they didn't seem to know what Hu Jiu's first spirit ring was. Well, I need to go back to tell you guys. It's not very safe here. Hu Jiu looked at everyone with a smile. The moment he heard that Grandmaster was looking for Daemube, he knew that his cultivation carrot could not be concealed. Instead of letting the master come to him to buy carrots, why don't you tell them directly? At least, there is no middleman here to make the difference. Everyone returned to the academy with their own thoughts. Daemube and Oscar looked at Hu Jiu expectantly. Among them, only the 2 of them didn't know about Hu Jiu's cultivation carrot. My first spirit ring is actually to assist in cultivation. Cultivating carrots can double the speed of cultivation and last for 1 hour. Hu Jiu took out a carrot with a smile and shook it in front of Daemube. Double the increase? Are you selling it? Daemube stood up and stared at the carrot in Hu Jiu's hand. Doubling the training effect means saving twice the training time. Does that mean that you still have hope? Hey, in principle, I wouldn't sell this carrot. Hu Jiu's words made Daemube's heart sink, but then he came to his senses. So why don't you have principles? But, for the sake of us being classmates, I'll give you a chance. 300 gold soul coins is the best price. 300 sticks. 1 stick can only last for an hour, and it takes about 10 sticks every day. Therefore, 1 day is 3000 gold soul coins, and 100,000 gold soul coins is needed a month. Daemube calculated in his heart, and suddenly felt a sense of powerlessness. His pocket money of only 30,000 gold soul coins a month was not enough to buy his carrots. Could it be cheaper? Daemube's tone was a bit jerky. He wasn't familiar with bargaining. Chapter 102 Buying and Selling. First order. It's cheaper. You just need to promise me one condition. Hu Jiu raised the corner of his mouth, not killing him at this time, and waiting for when. What? Conditions? Daemube looked at Hu Jiu decisively. In order to increase the speed of his cultivation and defeat his brother in the future, he was willing to pay, no matter what conditions he paid. It's very simple. I'm not very interested in other things. I just like to create my own soul skills. You are born in a big family. It must not be difficult to get your own soul skills. Hu Jiu, who created his own soul skills, never too much point as a food type soul master. If you want to improve your fighting ability, of course, the more soul skills you create, the better. Apart from the soul skills in Xiao Wuji's hands, Hu Jiu doesn't mind getting some more from other places. After all, the on-camera position is limited, and one more soul skill can also give one more choice. This Hu Jiu's request made Daemube hesitate. It's not that he doesn't have his own soul skill, but this game is inherently precious, and even in the royal family, it is taken very seriously. However, when he thought about the carrot effect introduced by Hu Jiu, Daemube gritted his teeth. Isn't it just a soul skill? He doesn't feel bad about selling him. If he fails to compete for the throne in the future, let alone create his own soul skill, his life is possible. No, I promise. Daemube gritted his teeth and went out of his way. Hey, since you are so cheerful, then I won't cheat on you. You just need to pay the same amount of money as carrots to cultivate carrots. 100 gold soul coins. This price is low enough. Hu Jiu said with a smile. Okay. After estimating his pocket money in his heart, Daemube nodded decisively. He could afford 30,000 gold soul coins a month. This, ninth brother, I have no soul skills and no money. What do you think of this carrot? Daemube negotiated, and Oscar stood up pitifully. He also wants carrots to speed up his cultivation. Hu Jiu glanced at Oscar with disgust. This is a poor ghost. He has no oil or water on him. Forget it. Even if you want a soul skill, you don't have it. But the price can't be less. The boss day is out. Soul skills only get discounts. I won't let you use soul skills. I'm worthy of you. 100 gold soul coins. Not less than one. Thank you, ninth brother. Seeing the real benefits, Oscar didn't even want his face. As long as he didn't want his soul skills, there was still a way to think about the golden soul coins. With his ingenuity, making money was not for him. Not difficult. It really doesn't work. Even if you cheat or steal, you have to get the money. Oscar was cruel, and he tried to get out one after another. After the deal was reached, Daemube and Oscar each bought a lot of carrots from Hu Jiu, which kept Hu Jiu smiling all night. Little San, do me a favor. What's the matter? Tang San looked at Hu Jiu curiously. Not many things could bring him to the door. It's very simple. Didn't you say that you found a kind of ore with good extensibility? I want to transform the meteor hammer. The weight of the current meteor hammer is no longer enough for my use, and the hammerhead is just right. Change it. Hu Jiu took out a lot of gold soul coins from the soul tool, and after counting, the number was not less than tens of thousands among them. There are many from Daemube and Oscar in the past 3 months. Hu Jiu has sold a lot of carrots to the two of them. Okay, it's up to me, but you have to come to help when the time comes. When it comes to refining the ore, you should be the best. When Tang San heard this, he immediately agreed. After that day, Tang San immediately took action. First spending money to buy enough materials, then taking some time every day to forge the meteor hammer with Hu Jiu. However, this time Hu Jiu's requirements were relatively high, and they had to take into account the cultivation, so the progress was not very fast. Time passed little by little. The strength of Hu Jiu and others is also improving a day. Slow rate. In the Battle of Soul Arena, Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu's 9 dance group became more and more famous as they fought more and more, and their points rose steadily. In just a few months, they got their bronze badges upgraded to a silver badge, meeting the Dean's requirements. After the badges were upgraded to silver Dao Soul, they were already qualified to appear in the main Dao Spirit Arena, but Hu Jiu felt that his and Xiao Wu's strengths were still a bit weak. So they were still fighting on the Dao Spirit platform. After all, even in the Battle of the Souls, they don't just win and lose, and sometimes they will lose when they encounter difficult opponents. But in the past few months, there was one thing that made Hu Jiu laugh for a long time. Since Daemube received the master's training, his strength has indeed increased a lot, but when he started taking the soup prepared by the master, interesting things happened. Because there were a lot of medicinal ingredients in the decoction, Daemube didn't discover it at first, but after a while, he actually tasted the carrot of Hu Jiu's cultivation in the decoction. This discovery made his face very ugly, and after all he asked Hu Jiu. The confirmed facts made him even more angry. The master actually bought Hu Jiu's cultivation carrots, and then added some herbs to cover up the taste, and cheated him of money in disguise. At that moment, he even had the urge to slap the master to death. Feelings. The master is playing him like a fool. After paying so much training fee, you end up giving such a thing. Fortunately, Daemube was still a little sensible. But just because the training was too hard, he resolutely refused to go to the master to train again. At that moment, the master's face was very exciting, and it was hard to find someone who was willing to accept his training and give money to him, but he actually quit. Play me. After that day, the relationship between Daemube and Grandmaster dropped to a freezing point, and every time they met, they didn't like each other. Hu Jiu, I brought you the soul skill you wanted. One day after a few months, Daemube came to the door, took out a book, and handed it over. Good brother, you really did not lose your trust. Hu Jiu's eyes lit up. He quickly took the secret book and looked at it seriously. This cheat book is much thicker than the usual ones. If you turn to the back, there is even the practice experience of the predecessors. Although it is not very useful to Hu Jiu, if you practice on your own, these experiences will be very useful. This spirit skill belongs to the sound attack category. It's called Beihu Sound Killing Roar, and it has enormous lethality after being trained. It's a scope spirit skill, Daimyo Bei proudly introduced. You haven't practiced? Hu Jiu's words caused a trace of embarrassment to flash across Daimyo Bei's face. This soul skill is too difficult to practice. In our family, except for the patriarch, no one else has practiced it. Moreover, we are now at a critical moment to improve our strength, and the family does not recommend us to specialize in soul skills. Daimyo Bei explained. Yeah. Hu Jiu understood Daimyo Bei's words very well. Self-created spirit skills are no better than others. If he didn't have Golden Finger, he wouldn't have the spare time to cultivate self-created soul skills. Chapter 103 New Weapons. Please order first. Hu Jiu was pleasantly surprised to get Beihuang Killing Roar, but at the same time it also caused him troubles, nothing else. The main thing is that there is no hang-up position point in the on-hook panel. Most of the 11th on-hook position has been unsealed. Based on this time estimate, it will take at least a few months at present. The self-created soul skill of cultivating the hand knife has taken up a lot of his time, as well as the training of soul power. These two tasks have already occupied his time. If he cultivates another soul skill, it will inevitably drag down the first two progress, which he did not want to see. Hey, keep it for now. I didn't expect that one day I would be troubled by too many soul skills. Hu Jiu took a look at the secret book in his hand, and then decisively threw it into the soul tool to eat ashes. Boss Day, I found that your strength has improved very quickly recently. Is it level 36 now? Hu Jiu laughed. Point as the biggest customer at the moment, Hu Jiu is still very friendly to Daimyo Bei. As the saying goes, the rich are the uncles. Daimyo Bei bought his carrots and gave him spirit skills, making Hu Jiu feel embarrassed. Target him again. Point of course, the premise is that Daimyo Bei doesn't mess with him. Haha, you can see this. Yes, the level I just improved a few days ago is thanks to your cultivation carrot. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to cultivate so fast. The increase in strength made Daimyo Bei more confident, and his eyes on Hu Jiu became more friendly. It's easy to talk about. You are my big boss. In the academy, you are the only one who buys the most carrots. Hu Jiu smiled. Point here, Daimyo Bei had just left, and then Tang San came. Point looking at Tang San. Hu Jiu's eyes lit up. Little San, is my meteor hammer successfully built? Since helping Tang San complete the refining some time ago, he can't help with the next thing. Point he could only see Tang San being busy day by day, cultivating again, and helping him build weapons, making him feel embarrassed. Well, the meteor hammer you asked for has finally been completed. Building your weapon feels more tiring than making several powerful hidden weapons. Zuono's hand moved. Tang San wiped it on his waist, and a heavy bowl the size of a watermelon appeared in his hand. Point the sphere was covered with gleaming spikes. A long chain was attached to the center of the sphere, and the new meteor hammer was completed. Haha, this is good. This is good. Hu Jiu stared at the new meteor hammer in Tang San's hands. I can't wait to take it and feel it for myself. Point good guy. If Hu Jiu knew that the new meteor hammer was heavy, he might have made a fool of himself. Your meteor hammer has been forged many times, and the weight has reached 1280 jin. The chain is made of a special material with strong elasticity, which can extend up to 10 meters. When using it, you can directly input your soul power. That's alright. There are also these spikes, made of 1000-year-old cold iron. Such weapons, I'm afraid that only you can use them easily. Tang San introduced the ability of the meteor hammer to Hu Jiu in detail, and Hu Jiu kept nodding in satisfaction. Haha, thank you, little San. In order to repay your hard work, I think we can have a friendly discussion. Holding the meteor hammer in his hand, Hu Jiu looked at Tang San expectantly. Point with a new weapon. Of course, it would be perfect to find a sparring opponent. This weapon was built for him by Tang San, and Hu Jiu felt that it was necessary for him to let him know the specific power of the meteor hammer. I won't fight. if I want to beat you to find teacher Zhao in the academy. I'm afraid he is the only one who can stand your meteor hammer. Tang San looked at Hu Jiu with a wry smile. It's hard enough to help you build weapons. To help you try the hammer, this is what people do, little San. You're not happy now? Ask the teacher to try the hammer. Isn't that looking for abuse? So, you want to abuse me? You're a 43 level spirit sect. You bully me, a 35th level spirit master. Tang San looked at Hu Jiu angrily. He regretted making weapons for him. Don't forget the well digger when you drink water. Hu Jiu is good. He just finished helping, and he wants to beat him in the blink of an eye. How can there be such a reason in the world? For several months, the ranks of the crowd are currently like this. Hu Jiu, a level 43 food type auxiliary soul sect. Damu Bei, a 36th level assault type battle spirit venerable. Tang San, a 35th level control system battle spirit venerable. Xiao Wu, a 34th level agility attack type battle spirit venerable. Oscar, the 27th level food type assistant spirit master. Mahanjan, a 26th level assault type battle spirit master. After all, Hu Jiu and the others had been at Shrek for about half a year, and in another half a year, it would be the New Year's college admission season. At that time, Zhu Zuking and Ning Rangrang should also come. It wasn't that Hu Jiu had other thoughts. He just felt that there was only one girl in the academy, Xiao Wu. If Zhu Zuking and Ning Rangrang came, at least they would be seductive. In the afternoon, Hu Jiu finally came to Zhao Walki's training ground. Teacher, come on, let's have a fight between men. Hu Jiu stood in front of Zhao Walki with high fighting spirit, and was extremely proud. Invincible, starting from defeating the teacher. Haha, is your skin itchy? You dare to provoke the teacher? What gave you courage? Zhao Wuji looked over with a smile. He felt that the training intensity that he had given Hu Jiu in the past few days was not enough. It seemed that after today, the training intensity should be doubled. What gave me courage? Hu Jiu smiled confidently and instantly took out his meteor hammer. Of course it gave me courage. Teacher, do you dare to accept my full blow? What the hell? Why does your weapon look a lot heavier than the previous one? Zhao Wuji glanced at it and instantly saw the difference in Hu Jiu's weapon. 1,280 pounds. What? The teacher should not be afraid to take it. Hu Jiu was full of expectations when he thought about the power of the 10th level random cloak hammer, wielding the meteor hammer. Humph, what do I do with your all-out strike? The teacher will teach you a lesson today. No matter how many cards you have, it's a waste if you don't use them. Zhao Walki glanced at Hu Jiu disdainfully and instantly completed the possession of the spirit. Take the move. Fight. The enemy will never give you time to prepare. This is today's lesson. Wow, teacher, you don't talk about martial arts. Seeing the figure of Zhao Wuji rushing over, Hu Jiu's expression changed, and the teleport was activated. After moving to a safe place, the transformation skill was activated to transform Zhao Walki's martial spirit. After the martial spirit possessed, Hu Jiu's body was covered with a layer of brown hair, and his body instantly increased to 3 meters, standing next to Zhao Wuji, like two giant bears roaring. Come on, let me teach you what a battle between men is. Zhao Wuji roared, turned his body, and charged straight towards Hu Jiu. Come here, eat my hammer. Hu Jiu waved the meteor hammer in his hand, not to be outdone. In the training ground, there was a burst of fierce fighting. That afternoon, the rumbling of fists and feet never stopped until it was almost dark. When Hu Jiu walked out of the training ground with tattered clothes, the staggering figure seemed to be exhausted. How could it be a miserable word? Chapter 104, Zhu Zuking and Ning Rangrang. Time flies, and the white horse crosses the full point in the blink of an eye. Half a year has passed. A new year begins after the academy's holiday. Hu Jiu and Zhao Wu returned to the Holy Spirit Village, while Tang San continued to stay in Shrek to receive the master's teaching. After returning home, Mother Emma was very happy when she learned that he and Zhao Wu had established a relationship. Her attitude towards Zhao Wu was even more affectionate than towards Hu Jiu, her own son. After staying for half a month, Hu Jiu and Zhao Wu hurried to Shrek until the start of school. We are finally here. Xiao Jiu. I'm hungry. Let's find a restaurant to eat. I want a big meal. Xiao Wu held Hu Jiu's arm on her shoulders, pretending to be pitiful. For the past few days, the two of them ate and slept in the open air, and they didn't have a good meal. Now that they are back in Soto City, Xiao Wu doesn't even have the heart to play and just wants to eat a good meal. Okay, let's go to that restaurant in Nancheng. Hu Jiu laughed. The flavor restaurant tasted good, and it was the closest to Shrek Academy. Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu were both regulars. After ordering the dishes skillfully, Xiao Wu suddenly pulled Hu Jiu. Xiao Jiu, look, that young lady is so beautiful. Hu Jiu heard the words and looked in the direction Xiao Wu pointed. I saw a young woman standing at the door of the hotel with a delicate figure and a black leather jacket that could not cover her upper body, looking around as if looking for a seat. There is stubbornness in the pure, and there is a hint of coldness in the stubbornness. In an instant, Hu Jiu was electrocuted. It's not bad, it's really beautiful. Hu Jiu nodded honestly, but she wondered if this person was the person he thought. Humph. Xiao Wu looked at Hu Jiu angrily. Her little hand involuntarily turned half a circle around him. I'm angry. Didn't you let me see it? Hu Jiu was speechless. If you want to see it, just watch it. Xiao Wu pouted, showing a jealous look. Oh, then I won't watch it. Hu Jiu chuckled lightly, turned her head, and really didn't watch it. Judging from the strength of this girl's soul power, it's really possible that it was her. If you want to see, there will be many opportunities in the future. The girl glanced around in the restaurant, frowned, and finally looked at Hu Jiu's table. One is that they are similar in age, and the other is that Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu are dressed appropriately, forming a natural contrast with other people in the restaurant. Of course, she wouldn't say that there are actually handsome faces of Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu. Excuse me, can I sit here? The girl came to Hu Jiu and said in a cold voice. Her voice was like eating snow pears in winter, revealing a natural coldness. Cough. There are only two of us. You can sit wherever you want. Hu Jiu said, with an easygoing and serious expression. A restaurant with a good business is such a hassle and worry about not having enough seats to eat a meal. When a little girl encounters difficulties, she can help. However, as soon as Hu Jiu finished speaking, Xiao Wu stepped on him under the table, causing him to hurt for a long time. Thank you. Even though it was thanks, her voice was still cold, so that Hu Jiu didn't feel any gratitude. Is Miss Sister here to take the Shrek entrance exam? Xiao Wu asked curiously after the girl sat down. Yeah. The girl nodded lightly as an answer. That's great. We are also Shrek students. It seems that we may be classmates in the future. Xiao Wu's eyes lit up, and her eyes instantly became kinder among Shrek. She was the only girl at present, not even a sister. This matter made Xiao Wu murmured for a long time. It's good now, a beautiful young lady is here. Although her temper is a little colder and her words are less, Xiao Wu is very satisfied. Hearing that Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu were Shrek students, the cold girl's eyes flashed. My name is Zhu Zuking. Do you know someone named Damu Bei? You're talking about that bad-eyed Sihu. Xiao Wu's mouth was quick, and after she finished speaking, she covered her mouth and glanced at Zhu Zuking and changed the subject. Haha, my name is Xiao Wu, the dancing dance. His name is Hu Jiu, Hu of Carrot. Beside him, Hu Jiu was excluded by the two girls, and there was no room to interrupt. However, after hearing Zhu Zuking's name, Hu Jiu said, she is probably the only one who has such a special temperament. That, Xiao Wu. Are you talking about a lecherous tiger with bad eyes? Zhu Zuking's face flashed a trace of complexity and a trace of hatred. Ah, those two circles of his eyes are just broken. Xiao Wu avoided the important and took it lightly. Only at this time did she realize that she seemed to have said something she shouldn't have said. Zhu Zuking did not speak, but still looked at Xiao Wu, waiting for a follow-up answer. Yeah, this is what you insisted on me to say. It's not me who speaks ill of people behind their backs. Xiao Wu's heart swayed when she was looked at like this. My sister Xiao Wu dared to act, so what if I said it, then? Daimyo, who goes to play with women every day, doesn't even return to the academy at night. What is it? Oh. When Zhu King heard this, he lowered his head slightly, making it impossible to see the expression on his face. When Hu Jiu saw this scene, her heart burst into laughter. Daimyo, you are finished. In other words, Hu Jiu never understood why Zhu King in the original book would marry him, even though he knew that Daimyo was fascinated. Is this the prerogative of the royal family? If this is the case, Hu Jiu feels that when he becomes stronger in the future, he can also be an emperor. Zhu King, are you Daimyo or something? Zhu asked tentatively. I have nothing to do with him at all. Zhu King replied coldly. The dishes are here. At this moment, Hu Jiu and the others' dishes arrived. Zhu invited Zhu King to join her after Zhu King postponed it for a while. At Zhu's insistence, he did not refuse again. By the way, Zhu King, we are going back to Shrek Academy. Do you want to come with us? After eating and drinking, Zhu asked Zhu King. Yeah. Zhu King nodded lightly, facing the enthusiastic Zhu. She couldn't resist. After a while, a group of 3 had arrived at the gate of Shrek Village. At the gate of the village, a group of people are lining up. Teacher Li Yusong was sitting lazily behind a dilapidated desk and was registering the students who signed up. At this moment, Hu Jiu's eyes lit up again. I saw Li Yusong standing in front of him, wearing a long white dress with shoulder-length short hair and white and delicate skin showing from his neck. Seen from the back, a tall and pretty temperament is highlighted to the fullest. I'm afraid this is Ning. Hu Jiu secretly guessed. Ah, you sure you want to join our Shrek? Does your family know? At this time, Li Yusong looked at the girl in front of him and asked seriously. I have met your admission requirements. You have no reason not to accept me. The girl said with a smile. Okay, wait a minute. I'll let someone take you in. Li Yusong gave her a deep look, then waved to Hu Jiu. Jiu, you came just in time. There is a student here. Help me take it to your teacher and let him do the next assessment. Chapter 105 Crying Ning Rang. Please order first. No problem, Teacher Li. Hu Jiu brought Zhu and Zhu King to Li Yusong. It just so happens that I also have a talented student here. The bone age is 12 and the spirit power is 27. Please, Teacher Li, go through the formalities. Huh? Zhu King glanced at Hu Jiu in shock. I didn't tell him this information. Why would he know? Oh, another genius. Where did you guys come from? Reach out to me to see. Li Yusong gave Zhu King a surprised look and said with a smile. Zhu King stepped forward, stretched out his small hand, and handed it over to Li Yusong for inspection. Bone age is right, so is spirit power. Okay, hand in 10 gold soul coins, and you can go in with them too. Li Yusong looked at Zhu King with a big smile. It seemed that at least 2 more students were enrolled this year. Then, I'll take them to see the teacher. Hu Jiu nodded to Ning Rang, who was standing by the side, and took the lead in walking into the academy. Behind him, 3 beautiful young girls with different looks followed behind him, making Hu Jiu feel happy. Selling sausages. Take a look, don't miss it. When you pass by, Oscar brand sausages are delicious and sweet, cheap and abundant, only 5 copper coins apiece. Eat Oscar brand sausages, guarantee you easier to pass the entrance exam. As soon as they entered the academy playground, a few people heard Oscar hawking sausages. Does your academy still sell sausages? Ning Rang looked at Oscar curiously. This uncle is very good at business. Even the academy will not let him go. Big uncle? Oscar looked at Ning Rang with a stiff face, showing an expression like he was about to cry. Originally, he saw that Hu Jiu brought a few beautiful young ladies here and wanted to take the opportunity to get to know them, but he would have been severely attacked as soon as they arrived. You misunderstood. This person is actually a student of our academy, but his hair is a bit thick and he looks a bit old, but in fact, he is only 14 years old. Zhu explained with a smile. I'm sorry, I didn't know about this situation. Ning Rong Grong hurriedly apologized. Otherwise, I bought all your sausages, so I should apologize. As soon as Ning Rong Grong finished speaking, Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu showed strange eyes, and even Oscar himself was a little embarrassed. Why, are you afraid that I have no money? Don't worry, I still have the money to buy your sausage. Ning Rong Grong puffed out her chest, expressing that she was rich. I advise you to think about it carefully, so as not to regret it later. Hu Jiu smiled. No, this is money. You don't need to look for it. I'll give it to you. Ning Rong Grong took out a handful of gold soul coins and handed them to Oscar without counting them. This Oscar froze in place. He felt as if he had been given charity. Oscar, why are you selling sausages here again? Didn't you tell you not to sell them in the academy? You're not ashamed, but I'm ashamed. Do you want everyone here to vomit? The voice came from far away point, because he felt that an aura similar to his martial soul appeared here point. When Oscar heard this, his eyes changed instantly, and then he immediately put on an embarrassed expression. Boss Day, no need. How can we say that we have been classmates for several years? Save some face for the younger brother. Even though he said this on the face, in his heart, Oscar wanted to strangle Dame Bay to death at this moment. No matter how I said it, I was your little brother, but you didn't give any face. You damn idiot. Dame Bay snorted coldly. You still know how to save face. What did you do earlier? But in the end, it still gave him a little face and didn't make him feel ashamed on the spot. Yes. What Boss Day said is, I'll leave, and I won't sell it in the future. Oscar obediently pushed his cart and left with his head down point at this moment. Hu Jiu suddenly felt that Oscar was so pitiful and disrespectful. If he was insulted like this, he might find an opportunity to kill him. Hold on. What's the matter? Where's my sausage? I paid for it. Ning Rong Grong stared blankly at Oscar, who was leaving quickly, with anger on his face. Xiao Wu, explain it to her, so that she doesn't get confused. Hu Jiu helplessly looked at Ning Rong Grong, who was stomping in anger, and winked at Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu smiled and leaned into Ning Rong Grong's ear, whispering a few words beside her. What? His sausages are so disgusting. Ning Rong Grong exclaimed, then pointed at Hu Jiu angrily, as if remembering something. Why didn't you tell me earlier, to make me so embarrassed? Hu Jiu's face turned cold, and without even looking at Ning Rong Grong, she turned to Dame Bay and said, Boss Day, what are you doing here? There are obviously some people who don't know what's good or bad. She has to suffer, and let her eat it. Haha, me. I just saw you guys coming back, and came over to say hello. Dame Bay glanced at ZHU's Yuking, whose face had become colder since he appeared, and then explained to Hu Jiu, who do you say doesn't know what's going on? I want you to apologize to me. Ning Rong Grong looked at Hu Jiu relentlessly, with a high-spirited expression. Ah, you talking to me? Hu Jiu's whole body was full of aura, and the aura belonging to the soul sect was completely released at this time, and he pressed on Ning Rong Grong. Remember, no one is your servant in this place. Remember to be careful when you speak in the future. You. Ning Rong Grong sat on the ground with the pressure of Hu Jiu's momentum, with a deep fear on his face. The next moment, her tears fell involuntarily, and she fell on the ground and cried. Hu Jiu didn't expect that Ning Rong Grong would be so unscared. This mental ability is too poor. You, too, she's a girl. What are you doing to scare her? Don't know how to be generous. Seeing Hu Jiu's helpless look, Xiao Wu glanced at him angrily, then came to Ning Rong Grong. She comforted her in a low voice like a big sister beside him. ZHU's Yuking glanced at Hu Jiu curiously. This man has such a strong aura. Boss Day, I think you can take action at this time. Isn't it your best thing to deal with girls? Seeing that Ning Rong Grong didn't stop for a while, Hu Jiu looked at Dame Bay and started digging a hole for a girl as good as ZHU's Yuking. Don't think about Dame Bay. Think about it. Think about your concubines. Hu Jiu felt that he was a good person, and he really tried his best to save the innocent girl. I wasn't. Hu Jiu, I called you brother ninth. Don't talk nonsense. I'm not good at dealing with girls at all. Dame Bay became anxious when he heard this. His eyes moved frantically. Give Hu Jiu a wink. Trash. ZHU Zuking spat out 2 words coldly, without even looking at Damube. Thanks to the naughty little screw. Book friends 20210327232418768. People in the cloud dancing. And Nanayu. Starting point reading iOS. Khan God. Lonzo. Etc. I will try my best to update it. Chapter 106. Assessor Hu Jiu. After a long time, Ning Rangrang calmed down with Xiao Wu's comfort point. However, her aggrieved face and her pear blossom with rain made Hu Jiu feel as if she had become a sinner. Let's go. I'll take you to the final test. Hu Jiu stepped up, and sure enough, he couldn't handle Ning Rangrang's spoiled temperament. Teacher, I'm back. Hu Jiu shouted loudly when he arrived at Xiao Walki's training ground. Haha, you little bastard is finally back. I'm dying of boredom. From the yard, Xiao Wuji's excited voice came from far away point. If Hu Jiu hadn't returned home, he wouldn't have been so bored that he needed to take over the task of assessing students for admission. What? Little brat, why don't you say the bear is blind? Xiao Wu muttered in dissatisfaction. Hey, who are these 2 little girls? In the training ground, Xiao Wuji looked at Hu Jiu curiously, not understanding what was going on. They are freshmen who entered this year. Teacher Li Yusang asked me to bring them here for you to assess. Hu Jiu explained. Oh. Xiao Walqi slapped his forehead and suddenly remembered that he still had this mission. Xiao Jiu, how do I test the 2 little girls? This task is left to you. Xiao Walqi waved his hand and instantly lost interest. How can this work? What if I punch them and make them cry later? Hu Jiu waved his hands again and again. Kitty Cat and Ning Rangrang were only in their 20s, and they were not enough to look at in front of him. Or, little come dance. You look down on us? Ning Rangrang looked at Hu Jiu angrily, thinking that this man was too hateful. Even the kitten's eyes sharpened. I don't look down. What I said is the truth. Hu Jiu said casually. Come on. I want to fight you. ZHU Zuking's eyes were cold and stern, and he decisively activated his spirit possession point after being possessed. ZHU Zuking had 2 cute black cat ears sticking out from his head, and a cat tail that was nearly 1 meter sticking out. Swaying and swaying to maintain his balance point, ZHU Zuking leaned down, sticking out sharp cat scratches on his 10 fingers, shimmering with cold light. His eyes turned blue like a night cat. Staring at Hu Jiu, ZHU Zuking, the beast martial spirit ghost cat, the 27th level agility attack type battle spirit master, Ning Rangrang, Kibeo glazed tile pagoda with martial spirit, level 26 auxiliary spirit master. Ning Rangrang summoned the spirit of the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda not to be outdone. A brilliant colorful light gathered in her hand, and when the light dissipated, a 7-colored pagoda with a height of 1 foot appeared in her right hand. Under the rays of light from the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda, Ning Rangrang smiled and looked extravagant, and the temperament of the charming girl of that day was suddenly highlighted. Sister ZHU Zuking, I will assist you. We must defeat this nasty guy and let him taste our power. Ning Rangrang looked at Hu Jiu angrily. It was this guy who made her feel so embarrassed just now. ZHU Zuking looked at Hu Jiu with a solemn expression, but just nodded to Ning Rangrang as a response point. Although Hu Jiu didn't move at all, the momentum he showed in front of them just now was enough to prove his strength. Good guy. There is actually a 7 treasure glazed tile clan among the candidates this time. It seems that old ghost Flender has picked up the treasure this time. Xiao Wuji looked at Ning Rangrang in surprise. I don't know the reputation of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. The 7 treasures are famous, and one is called power. The 7 treasures are famous, and the second is speed. Regardless of whether Hu Jiu answered or not, Ning Rangrang stretched out his finger and pointed at ZHU Zuking. 2 colored lights emerged from the fingertips and instantly enveloped her at the moment when the rays of light possessed him. ZHU Zuking only felt that his body was full of strength, and his body was so light that he didn't even have any weight, as if he would fly out if he wasn't careful. Well, since you have to fight with me, I will play with you. If you lose, don't cry. Hu Jiu shrugged and reluctantly accepted their challenge. Beautiful women always have preferential treatment. If two men dared to be so presumptuous in front of him, they might have been thrown out by him long ago. Limited to one stick of incense. As long as you can hold on to one stick of incense in Hu Jiu's hands, your test is considered qualified. Zhao Walqi took out a stick of incense, tapped it, and stuck it on the ground. Start. As soon as Zhao Walqi finished speaking, Zhu Zuking's body had already jumped out, silently, like a ghost. 10 sharp claws, flickering a little bit of cold light, attacked Hu Jiu. Haha, King Kong is not bad. Hu Jiu shouted softly. The muscles on his body began to bulge, and his height was abruptly raised several inches, turning into a tall young man with tight muscles. The skin on his face, as well as the exposed arms and neck, instantly turned bronze, and the golden light flowed around him like a living bronze eye had points. Ding 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 ding. Zhu Zuking's cat paw landed on Hu Jiu, making a pleasant sound, like the sound of steel knocking. Hey. Hey hey, Hu Jiu shook his neck and looked at Zhu Zuking with a smile. Little wildcat, are you tickling me? Also, you broke my clothes. You will have to pay me later. Hu Jiu innocently tugged at the clothes that were scratched by the kitten on his chest, revealing the strong bronze skin inside. HMPH, Dengzizi. Zhu Zuking's face turned cold. Second. Soul skill, 100 nether claws. Zhu Zuking's body paused, and the sharp claws of both hands spun rapidly, cutting towards Hu Jiu like a gear cutter. In the face of such a sharp attack, Hu Jiu no longer dared to rely on King Kong's indestructible body to show his power. He saw his body shaking like noodles, twisting into weird postures, and stunned Zhu Zuking's ghostly claws one by one. Dodge. Then, at the moment when her skill ended, a straight punch hit Zhu Zuking's chest, knocking her out. Zhu Zuking, who flew out, had already adjusted his posture in midair. His cat's tail was raised high, and after a few rolls, he landed smoothly and appeared beside Ning Rangrong. Ah, you alright? Ning Rangrong asked with concern. When he saw this, he stretched his arms around Zhu Zuking. Well, I'm fine. Zhu Zuking hummed, feeling almost out of breath. However, she was stubborn and unwilling to show weakness in front of others, so she endured it. Hey, Zhu Jiu too, can't you be a little pity on Xiang Xiu? It's a girl, but you are so cruel. I doubt how Zhao Wu took your fancy in the first place. Zhao Walqi, who was in the off-field battle, stammered and spoke with contempt for Hu Jiu. Mr. Zhao is right. Zhao Jiu is just a piece of wood and a big idiot. Zhao Wu also said angrily beside her. In this regard, Hu Jiu smiled helplessly. Can this blame him? Zhao Wu is only 12 years old now, and I don't know where I heard some nonsense knowledge. It must be said that boyfriends and girlfriends have to do some special games. How dare Hu Jiu start in 3 years? Just ask if you are afraid. Report the results of the first order. So far, the order is 325. This result, how should I say it, is close to 10,000 collections, and the 30:1 subscription ratio should be considered good in fanfiction. After all, the collection basis here. As for whether it will drop after the first order, I have no experience with this follow-up efforts. Work hard to advance to ending. 8 chapters have been released today. The manuscript has been used up, and there is no more chapter left. Next, I will save the manuscript for tomorrow, so this is the last chapter today. Sorry. Chapter 107. The new hang-up position. Hey, teacher, I said just now that Zhao Wu would test them because they didn't agree, so it's not my fault. Hu Jiu spread out his hands and said helplessly, okay, these two dolls look good to me. You can do what you want. Don't take it too seriously. Zhao Walqi gave Zhu Zuking and Ning Rangrong a satisfied look, and was quite satisfied with the strength they showed. If this kind of talented student is let go in his hands, the old ghost Furland will probably run over and strangle him. Come again. Zhu Zuking's eyes flashed a trace of resentment when he heard that Zhao Wuji asked Hu Jiu to release the water in an open and fair manner. They seemed to be looked down upon. The first soul skill, Netherthorn. With a cold snort, Zhu Zuking's figure blurred for a moment. In the next instant, she was already in front of Hu Jiu. Her sharp cat claws popped out with both hands and grabbed towards Hu Jiu's door. What? A wild kitty. Hu Jiu's eyes narrowed slightly. Fortunately, his 5 sense enhancement technique has been upgraded to level 10. Otherwise he would not be able to react. Pointing toes on the ground. Hu Jiu took a big step backward in an instant, just dodging ZHU Zuking's sharp claws. Come. Again. ZHU Zuking followed him like a shadow, and his body instantly came to Hu Jiu. One sharp claw pierced his neck and the other stabbed at Hu Jiu's ear. Little wildcat, don't force me, or I'll use a unique trick. Hu Jiu swayed from side to side. The phantom dodged with all his strength, and his body carried a afterimage, which interfered with ZHU Zuking's vision. Whatever. ZHU Zuking's face was cold, and he still kept attacking. You force me, spiral pill. Hu Jiu shouted loudly, placing his hands on his chest. A ball of light rapidly grew in his hands, exuding powerful fluctuations. Take it. Hu Jiu looked at ZHU Zuking, who was still attacking him in front of him, and threw the spiral pill in his hand. Seeing Hu Jiu's spiral pill, ZHU Zuking's face changed instantly. Without turning his head, his body backed up, and instantly moved away from dodging. Boom. With a loud explosion, a huge deep pit appeared in front of Hu Jiu, and the surrounding soil was flying in all directions, and smoke and dust filled the air. What? A powerful attack. Waiting for the smoke to dissipate, Ning Rangrang looked at the big pit and screamed. On the other side, ZHU Zuking's eyes narrowed, and Hu Jiu's eyes were filled with fear. If this attack hit her head on, she would be seriously injured, to say the least. Invincible. At this moment, ZHU Zuking finally recognized the reality. Hu Jiu, do you want to destroy my place? At this moment, Zhao Waoqi's dissatisfied voice sounded. This was his training ground. How would he train after it was destroyed? Time's up. Zhao Wu happily pointed at the burned incense in front of Zhao Wuji and said, Zhao Jiu, you have already lost. Well, I lost. I announce that ZHU Zuking and Ning Rangrang, you two have passed. Congratulations on joining the Shrek family. Hu Jiu shrugged. He didn't care about winning or losing at all. It was just a joke. Whoever was serious would lose. HMPH. Who asked you to announce it? Isn't it obvious? Ning Rangrang raised her chin and said proudly to Hu Jiu. Hu Jiu was too lazy to care about her. The current Ning Rangrang had not been educated in love, and he was not interested in contacting her. Coming to ZHU Zuking's side, Hu Jiu took out a carrot of holy light. I'm sorry, it seemed a little heavy just now. I'm a food type soul master. Eat this, it can heal the wound. Food type soul master. ZHU Zuking raised his head instantly, forgetting even the words of rejection. No way. How can you be a food type soul master? Doesn't it mean that food type soul masters have no attack power? Ning Rangrang also looked at Hu Jiu in disbelief. How can that be? A food type soul master without attack power is not a good soul master. Of course, I can achieve today's achievements because of my hard work. What's strange? Hu Jiu said seriously. Yes, food type soul masters, he can also have attacking ability, all thanks to his hard work and self-created soul skills. You are really just like Shrek, a monster. Ning Rangrang gave Hu Jiu a surprised look and said brokenly, no, I'm fine. ZHU Zuking dodged his eyes, then stubbornly didn't take Hu Jiu's carrot. It's up to you. It's not me that hurts anyway. Hu Jiu took back the carrot without hesitation, turned to Zhao Wuji and said, Mr. Zhao, since this is over, I'll go back to rest first. It's too fast to drive, but I'm tired. You just don't have enough practice. The class will start tomorrow. Let me see your progress during this time. Zhao Waoqi grinned, feeling itchy. In the days when Hu Jiu was no more, he didn't even have a decent sandbag, but he was suffocated. Next, ZHU Zuking and Ning Rangrang had Zhao Wu to help arrange. Hu Jiu said hello and left alone. He has to go back and think about it. What kind of soul skill should he hang up in his 11th hang up position? That's right. After a year, his 11th hang up slot was finally unsealed, allowing him to have another hang up slot. In this hang up position, he was going to hang up a group attack type soul skill. After all, when it comes to attacking methods, he is still too few. and the group attacking spirit skills are even more absent. There are actually two ideal goals. One is a shockwave in Zao Walki's hand, which vibrates the air through soul power, restricting people's movements. When they practice to high depths, they can even make the enemy's soul power vibrate, and they can't even use their soul skills. The second is the killing roar of the white tiger sound that he got from Daemube. As a self-created soul skill secretly passed down by the royal family of the Star Luo Empire. This soul skill naturally had its own uniqueness, as the name suggests. White tiger sound killing roar is a sound killing spirit skill created by Daemube's family, based on their own martial spirit characteristics. This soul skill has direct lethality. It can directly attack the enemy's mind, weaken the enemy's willpower, and destroy the enemy's brain. Facing the two spirit abilities, Hu Jiu was a little confused. Which one should he choose? After thinking about it, Hu Jiu's thoughts began to turn. He remembered that it seemed that Ning Rangrang still had a distraction control soul skill point. If he can learn this soul skill, is he distracted and multipurpose? While cultivating soul power around the clock, he can also cultivate his own soul skills, such as Shockwave and Beihuai Killing Roar, which can be divided into 7 or 8 equal parts. Come out of your heart and play while cultivating. What a wonderful soul skill. Even distraction control doesn't need to be practiced very deeply. As long as he can be distracted and used for 2 purposes, he can use the random cloak hammer method with his left hand and use other skills with his right to contain the enemy. After the random cloak is fully charged, he can complete a one-hit kill. However, his relationship with the proud little princess Ning Rangrang was not very good. It may be a little difficult to get her Zangman secret method. Touching his chin, Hu Jiu fell into deep thought. Chapter 108 Mahanjan Upgrades. The arrival of ZHU Zuking and Ning Rangrang brought together the 7 Shrek monsters. No, it should be called the Shrek 8 monsters now. In the dormitory area, the room on Hu Jiu's left is Xiao Wu, and the room on the right is Tang San. In front of Tang San was Mahanjan, then Oscar, and then Daemube. But Daemube was a rich man with a rich nightlife, and most of the time he wasn't in the dormitory. The newcomers, ZHU Zuking and Ning Rangrang, chose to live together. Of course, this seemed to be what Ning Rangrang was begging for. She was scared alone, and the dormitory was next to Xiao Wu. That night, Hu Jiu, who was keenly aware, found that in the middle of the night, a light figure ran out of the dormitory like a civet cat, and then came to follow the bridge by the river, The slight and painful voice made Hu Jiu, who was just about to go out to see what was going on, froze. It's a stubborn kitty. Wouldn't it be over to eat my carrots early? You have to be brave. Shaking his head helplessly, Hu Jiu continued to lie back on the bed. The 5 senses were activated, and a hazy figure appeared in the sea of spiritual consciousness for nothing else. It is not safe for a little girl to be alone at night. Early the next morning, the Shrek 8 monsters gathered in the school playground. Seeing ZHU Zuking and Ning Rangrang for the first time, Mahanjan straightened his eyes and swallowed his saliva without concealment. Beside him, Daemube touched him with his arm. Fatty, be honest with me. It's better to suppress the evil fire, Ma. Hanjan looked at him angrily. Why do you want to attack again? Boss Day, you are too much. Even if you are old and our boss, you still save some soup for your brothers. Daemube's face turned pale when he heard these words. He secretly glanced at ZHU Zuking. Seeing that she didn't seem to hear their conversation, he hurriedly pulled Mahanjan and said in a low voice, Fatty, you can eat rice indiscriminately, but you can't talk nonsense. If you ruin my reputation, be careful that I'm being rude to you. Mahanjan is not afraid of him. He is very confident now. His voice has not decreased, but has become louder. Hey, Boss Day, haven't you always been proud of you instead of being ashamed? Why have you changed your sex today? Fatty, shut up for me. Otherwise don't blame me for turning your face. Daemube's expression changed, and he hurriedly covered his mouth, then looked at ZHU Zuking with a worried expression. But ZHU Zuking's face was cold, and he didn't even look here. It was Ning Rangrang, who looked at Daemube and Mahanjan, as well as Oscar and Hu Jiu with disgust. Men don't have a good thing. Tang San frowned. I haven't recruited anyone, and I haven't messed with anyone, so why should I be counted? Hey, Oscar, why have you changed today? Xiao Wu glanced at Oscar, whose appearance had changed greatly in the past. His facial hair was cleanly shaved, and his handsome face was not inferior to Hu Jiu and Amube. A pair of peach blossom eyes made him seem cynical, but the sausage in his hand ruined his temperament. Oscar smiled, and quickly finished eating the sausage in his hand, posing in a pose he thought was handsome. Isn't this a few new beauties in our academy? If you don't dress up, how can you attract their attention? Look at Boss Day, how serious this will be. It's not because you have an idea for our new schoolgirl. Heh, I see. No matter how handsome you are, no girl will like you. Oscar, give up. Mahanjan gave Oscar a contemptuous look and said, you can't get much better, right? Do you want me to tell you embarrassing things? Oscar squinted at Mahanjan, sarcastically pointed present. No one wants to lose momentum. Just when the two were about to expose each other's shortcomings, Flender appeared. This year is very good, and there are 2 more little monsters. I'm Shrek Dean Flender. On behalf of the academy, I welcome the new students. Wait, everyone remember to pay the tuition fees to the financial department of the academy. 1000 gold soul coins. When talking about tuition fees, Flender gave Hu Jiu a special look. Originally, the tuition fee of the academy was only 100 gold soul coins per year, but seeing Hu Jiu's carrots being sold at such a high price made him very unconvinced. What are you doing? Do you still want to rob me of the title of profiteer? So, tuition has gone up. Regarding this, Hu Jiu and others have no opinion. After the training of the spirit in the Great Spirit Arena, plus the registration level of the Spirit Hall, you can still get a lot of money every month. Of course, Hu Jiu will not go to this registration. Do he? Not bad money. And ZHU Zuking and Ning Rangrang didn't know how much the tuition fees were before, so they had no opinion. Well, there are 2 other good news to celebrate. That is Oscar and Mahanjan. During their vacation at the academy, their spirit power has broken through to level 30. Taking this opportunity, I will lead the team with Teacher Zao tomorrow. The Stardao Great Forest hunted for spirit rings for them, and by the way, I will also take you out to experience it. Well, all I have to say is finished. Now, disband. Okay, little fat man, you didn't tell us that you broke through level 30. Did you need to clean up? Xiao Wu came to Mahanjan and said with her hands on her hips, Sister Wu, I want to tell you too, but you're not going home. Where can I tell you? Mahanjan said innocently. The training speed is good. It doesn't seem like my efforts were wasted. Hu Jiu patted Mahanjan's shoulder with satisfaction. I remember that at this time in the original book, Mahanjan seemed to be at the 26th or 27th level point, but under his training, Mahanjan improved by 3 or 4 levels, which gave Hu Jiu a sense of accomplishment. Even Damube is now level 38, 1 level higher than the original. Tang San didn't say anything. Now at level 37, he was almost catching up with Damube. Even Oscar, who bought him the fewest carrots, reached level 31, step ahead of the original book. How many levels do you guys have? Why do you feel that among all the people, only I have the lowest level? Ning Rangrang looked at everyone curiously, especially Hu Jiu. During the battle yesterday, they didn't even force out his full strength. It can be described as an extreme failure. Haha, since we're all companions from now on, let's introduce them according to age. I'll come first. Damube laughed and introduced them first. Damube, Martial Soul White Tiger, 38th level Assault Type Battle Soul Venerable. Oscar, Wuhan Sausage, level 30 Food Type Auxiliary Soul Master. Tang San, Martial Soul Blue Silver Grass, level 37 Control System Soul Venerable. Hu Jiu, Martial Soul Carrot, 45 level Food System Soul Sect. Mahanjan, Martial Spirit Phoenix, 30th level Assault Type Battle Spirit Venerable. Xiao Wu, Martial Soul Soft Bone Charming Rabbit, 36th level Agility Attack Type Battle Soul Venerable. Ning Rangrang, Martial Spirit 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda, 26th level Auxiliary Spirit Master. ZHU Zuking, the Spirit Cat of the Netherworld, the 27th level Agility Master Spirit Master. Sure. Enough. I'm the lowest level of spirit power present. Why are you cultivating so fast? Isn't it reasonable? Ning Rang Grang looked down in disbelief and looked at Hu Jiu and the others in disbelief. As the proud daughter of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, she naturally has her arrogance point, but before this arrogance could manifest, reality gave her a heavy blow. Damu Bei and Oscar won't talk about it. From the perspective of age, they are indeed a lot older, but which of the rest is not about her age, which makes her unacceptable. Hearing this question, everyone looked at Hu Jiu in unison, and immediately attracted the attention of Ning Rang Grang and Zhu Zuking. Thank you for the action, the Trace M, the book friend. 20210327232418768 for the reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109. Why are you all looking at me? Hu Jiu looked at everyone dissatisfied. Did you forget what you promised me, Hu? Jiu's gaze made a group of people turn their heads quickly, and they didn't dare to look at him with a guilty conscience. Promise what? Of course, he promised not to reveal his martial soul effect casually. Hey, is it because of him that you are cultivating so fast? Ning Rang Grang Binksu was smart and immediately saw something wrong from the reactions of Damu Bei and the others next to him. Zhu Zuking stared at Hu Jiu with burning eyes. The flames in those eyes seemed to burn him to ashes in terms of determination to become stronger. Who can match her? Haha, I want to know if you can come to my room tonight. Let's talk at night. Hu Jiu threatened Ning Rang Grang with a scumbag smile on his face. Okay, wait for me at night. An ice-like voice poured into Hu Jiu's ears, causing him to look over in shock. But he only saw Zhu Zuking turn his back to him, as if it wasn't her who spoke just now. What? Zhu Zuking's words made everyone stunned. Xiao Wu even stretched out her hand to teach Hu Jiu a lesson. As if frozen, she stared at this cold girl in a daze. What should I do? My boyfriend is going to be robbed. Am I going to get angry at this time? Do I want to go back? Xiao Wu only felt that her head was dazed and she didn't even know what she was doing. However, there was only one person in the field with an extremely ugly face. That was Damu Bei, and at this moment, his face was already sinking and water was dripping from his face. Ninth. Brother, you can't be sorry for little sister Wu. This kind of trivial matter, little brother can do it for you, to ensure that it is done properly. Mahanjan shouted and rushed in front of Hu Jiu, holding his thighs to show his loyalty. Go away. Hu Jiu kicked the little fat man away angrily. He had never thought of such a good thing. Haha, just kidding. Don't take it seriously. I have a girlfriend. Holding Xiao Wu's hand in midair, Hu Jiu hurriedly explained that he was just talking for a while. How could he have thought that this little kitty would actually take it seriously, but also so sturdy. Can't be bothered. HMPH. It's not a good person at first glance. Forget it. I don't want to know. Ning Rang Grang looked at Hu Jiu with disdain, but her heart was scratching like a cat. Itchy. Okay, you all heard what the dean said just now. Go to pay the tuition first, then pack up and leave the Stardao Great Forest tomorrow. Reminded. Yes, the dean is very careful. If we let him know that we didn't pay our tuition fees on time, he still doesn't know how to deal with us. Oscar also ran out to change the subject, and at the same time, peeked at Ning Rang Grang obsessively. Such a righteous girl, he likes it very much. Well, then let's go. Tang San nodded in agreement. The group began to walk to the financial department, where they asked Mr. Li Yusung to pay the tuition. Walking on the road, Xiao Wu followed Hu Jiu, half a step behind, calmly blocking Zhu Zuking's secret gaze towards Hu Jiu. Seeing Zhu Zuking's eyes with a trace of precaution. This girl, I kindly brought her to Shrek. Don't be thankful and still look at my little nine like this. Did I find a rival in love for myself? Xiao Wu was quite dissatisfied with this. That night, in the dead of night, a dexterous figure quietly appeared outside the door of Hu Jiu's dormitory. Looking at that figure, there is no one in the academy except ZHU's Yuking. Because of its huge size and proud figure, I'll just say there's a good show to watch today. Xiao, do you think I'm right? In the woods not far from the dormitory, Mahanjan watched this scene with bright eyes, turned his head, and whispered to Oscar, well, I didn't expect that the girl now is so open. Why haven't I met such a girl? Oscar absently looked at the slender figure in the distance, his eyes kept swept back, for fear of coming back again. One cough, cough, a light cough suddenly sounded beside Mahanjan and Oscar, which was very obvious in the night. The two of them were startled, and when they looked back, it turned out that Hu Jiu's Heng was standing behind them sadly, with a faint trace of evil spirit in his eyes. The figure outside the door of Hu Jiu's dormitory heard the movement. Like a frightened bunny, the figure flickered, rose and fell, and disappeared in an instant. That brother Jiu, why are you here? Mahanjan looked stiff and stammered at Hu Jiu. I'm here to pee. Why are you here? Hu Jiu asked with a dark face. If it weren't for the 5 sense enhancement technique, he really couldn't find these two dogs, and he dared to run to him and listen to the corner. Ah, what a coincidence. We're here to pee too. Oscar felt bad and hurriedly explained. Okay, then let's go farther and sprinkle together. Hu Jiu showed his deep white teeth, one in each hand, holding the two of them straightly, and walked towards the small woods in the distance. Bang bang, bang bang. The next day, Oscar and Mahanjan were both bruised and swollen when they gathered at the playground, and even Oscar's sausage didn't recover. Mahanjan, Oscar, what's wrong with the two of you? Didn't you fight last night? Xiao Wu looked at the two of them and smiled. Mahanjan, Miss Wu, please have some snacks. Your man was almost stolen last night. On the side, ZHU's Yuking lowered his head silently, and for some reason, there was a hint of pink in his ears. She was a little panicked. She was so bold last night, so bold that she was surprised. Haha, little guys, are you all ready? We are about to leave soon. In the distance, Xiao Waoqi's voice came from far away, and he was accompanied by Grandmaster and Flender. Why, is Grandmaster also going to hunt for spirit rings with us? Damubei looked at Grandmaster's figure, his eyes narrowed with evil eyes. The master has been at the academy for almost a year, and he also knows the master's soul power level. He didn't even reach level 30, yet he still called himself an invincible master of theory. How ridiculous. Teacher has a lot of research on the theory of spirit masters. This time, the dean asked the teacher to help Mahanjan and Oscar choose a suitable spirit ring for them. Tang San explained beside him. Xiao gang, let me introduce you to our 2 new students this year. The 3 of them came before the crowd, and Flender pointed to Ning Rangrang and ZHU's Yuking to introduce him. ZHU Zuking, the spirit cat of the Netherworld, the 27th level agility master spirit master. Ning Rangrang, martial spirit 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda, 26th level auxiliary spirit master. Well, I'm the master, and I'm a teacher at Shrek Academy. If you have any questions about martial arts knowledge, you can ask me. On the back, a pedantic temperament is undoubtedly prominent. ZHU's Yuking glanced at the master, just nodded, and did not speak. On the contrary, Ning Rangrang glanced at the master in surprise and said, so you are the master. I heard the elders in the family say about you. Ning Rangrang paused for a moment, as if thinking about some words, and then said, you've been studying martial arts theory all your life. You're very persistent. Hearing this, the master squeezed out a stiff smile and said lightly, as expected from the 7 treasure glazed tile school, even an unknown person like me has information. Ning Rangrang, am I complimenting you? Chapter 110 Help Ning Rangrang. Okay, since everyone is ready, let's go. Let's go now, and try to reach our destination at night. Otherwise we will be sleeping in the wilderness. Xiao Waoqi looked impatiently at those who wanted to talk to Ning Rangrang. Master, interrupt by shouting, then, let's go. In order to give you a better training, we will stop making a carriage and run to the Stardao forest. Flender glanced at everyone, and his eyes stayed on Ning Rangrang and ZHU Zuking for a moment. Oh, I knew it would be like this, Ma. Jun sighed in a low voice. As the dean's disciple, he knew Flender's temperament best. In order to train them not to be a carriage, it would be a lie. Others were already prepared for this and didn't respond much. Is the Great Stardao Forest far from here? Ning Rangrang looked at Jun curiously. For some reason, he always felt something was wrong. Let's run. Leave now. You can arrive at night. You can't delay in the middle. You say it's not far. Jun looked at Ning Rangrang, his eyes rolling. What? It's so far away. I'm not going. Ning Rangrang shook his head in a panic. Running for a day? How could he bear it? You are an auxiliary spirit master, so you should know that auxiliary spirit masters need the protection of partners, whether in peacetime or on the battlefield. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to survive. Flender stopped and looked back solemnly. Ning Rangrang said lightly, so, as an auxiliary spirit master, you have to learn to escape. After all, no matter how well protected your partner is, there will always be omissions. When an auxiliary spirit master faces an enemy, the only thing you can do is run away. If you don't run, you have to wait to die. It's also an auxiliary spirit master. Others can run, but you can't. Now, tell me, do you want to run with us? Run. And run. As soon as Flender said it, Ning Rangrang felt arrogant in her heart. If others can do it, she can do it too. Isn't it just running? Who is it difficult to live with? Okay, let's go. Flender tipped his toes, and his body had jumped all the way behind him. Zhao Wowki grinned. Little guys, cheer me up, warm up and start exercising. The master clenched his fists silently, put on a good posture, and ran unhurriedly. In fact, this physical training is also a big test for him. If he can't keep up with the pace of the team, he will be embarrassed. Originally, Flender had said that he would take him with him, but the master was arrogant, unwilling to accept Flender's help, and insisted on running by himself. Haha, then let's run. Daemube laughed loudly, followed closely behind Hu Jiu, and left first. Then, Tang San, Jun, Oscar and the others took action one after another, and joined the running team. Hu Jiu smiled lightly, followed Xiao Wu unhurriedly, and ran with her. With his current physical fitness, running is useless for him, even if he is allowed to run all day and night without breathing. 7th level King Kong is not bad. It is so tyrannical. This is still the case, that he did not run the Vajra indestructible body, but only passively improved his physical quality in the process of cultivation. As Ning Rangrang, who had the lowest level of spirit power among the people present, his physical fitness was also the lowest point, but she wasn't stupid either. The speed of the second spirit ring skill was increased by 30%, and her running speed was not slow, directly surpassing Oscar, and on the same level as Jun. Pony, you can't do it. I won't say that Oscar is a food type soul master, but you can't outrun an auxiliary type soul master. Don't tell people that you are messing with me when you go out. Hu Jiu said to Jun teasingly when he saw this scene. Yeah, even a girl from the auxiliary department can't run away. Fatty, you're still not a man. Xiao Wu was even more ruthless and began to attack directly. Who said I couldn't run away? I'll let her. Jun blushed at the words, shouted angrily, and forced his feet, stunned to throw Ning Rangrang far away in a very short time. Far. Fatty, who wants you to let it go? Just wait for me, and see how I deal with you. Ning Rangrang looked at Jun's back fiercely, and at the same time, glared at Hu Jiu, the provocateur. Haha. Hu Jiu was amused by Ning Rangrang's eyes, even glaring at people with a charming energy. As expected of being born in a big family, upbringing is good. On Daemube's side, as he ran, he began to lean towards Zhu King, and approached her inadvertently. However, Zhu King didn't even look at him, silently moved his steps away, ran in front of Xiao Wu, and ran with her. Xiao Wu blinked her eyes. What do you mean, trying to steal my man again? Seeing this, Xiao Wu calmly changed positions with Tang San. And when she was there, she quietly pushed him to Zhu King's side. Before he got close to Zhu King, Tang San felt a coldness coming, touched his arm, and quietly retreated to Hu Jiu's side, running with him silently. And Oscar, who was running at the back, looked at Ning Rangrang's back running happily with a look of obsession in his eyes. Can't take it anymore. I won't run. An hour later, Ning Rangrang stopped angrily and sat down on a stone on the side of the road. Regardless of whether it was dirty or not, Hu Jiu's ears moved quietly, and before Oscar, a teleportation appeared in front of Ning Rangrang. He took out a white carrot and shouted, "Sell. Carrots. Crispy and delicious carrots. Restore physical strength. Expel abnormal physical conditions. And treat injuries. Give it to me. I want it." Ning Rangrang glared at Hu Jiu angrily and stretched out her little hand. "Hey, here are you. 5 gold soul coins." Hu Jiu smiled and handed the carrot to Ning Rangrang. "HMPH, profiteer." Ning Rangrang took the carrot and bit into it bitterly, as if the carrot was Hu Jiu. Hu Jiu squeezed his legs, feeling empty. "Hey, the recovery effect of your carrot is pretty good." As soon as she ate it, Ning Rangrang felt a carrot turn into a warm current flowing through her body, making her sore legs suddenly energized. "Of course, I'm an auxiliary food soul master, and recovery is my strength." Hu Jiu raised his head and said proudly, "Rangrang, I'm also a food type soul master. My sausages can also be recovered, and it's cheaper." Oscar gave Hu Jiu a resentful look, and looked at Ning Rangrang attentively. "Go away. You should keep that big sausage for yourself. It's not up to you last time, so be careful with me." Ning Rangrang gave Oscar a vicious look. It was this guy who let him in embarrassed in front of so many people. "Oscar, they've all run away. If you don't run fast, will you be able to catch up later?" Hu Jiu kindly reminded beside him. Oops. Oscar was embarrassed. Hearing that, he looked up. After a short time, he couldn't even see the shadow of the army point this time. He didn't care about anything else, shouted, and ran forward quickly. "What, don't want to run anymore?" Hu Jiu looked at Ning Rangrang and smiled as she watched Oscar leave. Chapter 111 Soul Changing Skills. If you don't run, what if you regain your stamina? If you can't catch up with them, you might as well stay here. Ning Rangrang lowered her head, and there was a faint cry in her voice. In the 7 treasure glazed tile school, she is the daughter of heaven, from the father of the sect master, the grandfather of Jian, the grandfather of the bone, to the disciples of the sect, who doesn't hold her like a princess. How is it like now? Not only let her run, but even the dean and the teacher also ignored her, which made her feel better. The more I thought about it, the more aggrieved I felt, and I started to cry when I squatted on the ground. Hu Jiu, this is blind. The girl is crying in front of him. He has no experience in dealing with it. "Why don't I sell you another carrot? With this, you can catch up with them." After thinking about it, Hu Jiu took out a carrot of change. "What is this?" Ning Rangrang looked up at the carrot in Hu Jiu's hand and asked while wiping away tears. "Change. Carrots change other people's martial arts and have the characteristics of the opponent's martial arts." Hu Jiu explained. "Like now, if you want to keep up with the team's footsteps, you can change Zhu King's ghost cat martial arts. Although she can't use her spirit ring skills, the speed increase brought by spirit possession is still very high useful. Changing other people's martial arts sounds like a lot of fun." Hu Jiu's introduction made Ning Rangrang suddenly interested, and he couldn't even care about the sadness and loss. "How much is this carrot?" "I bought it." Without waiting for Hu Jiu to speak, Ning Rangrang grabbed the carrot and ate it without any hesitation. "This one is a bit more expensive, with a unique food type spirit ring effect. 100 gold spirit coins." Hu Jiu said with a smile. 100 is 100. Ning Rangrang looked at Hu Jiu impatiently. "Tell me how to change Zhu King's younger sister's spirit. You are not lying to me, are you?" "Hotness." Hu Jiu extended his thumbs in praise. It seemed that Ning Rangrang would be his second major customer. "There is a condition for changing martial arts. That is, it needs to be face to face. Now that Zhu King is not in front of us, you can't change. You big liar. Why didn't you tell me earlier? They all ran away. How did you make me change?" Ning Rangrang looked at Hu Jiu angrily. Her face changed as soon as she changed. "What's the matter? If you run far, you can catch up." They didn't run very far anyway. Hu Jiu said indifferently. He had already adapted to Ning Rongrong's child's character, or in other words, had become immune. Chasing ass. I couldn't run away from them originally. What did you want me to chase after? Ning Rongrong was so angry with Hu Jiu that she didn't even care about her image as a lady, and she started to speak foul language. Well, there is no good way. If you don't dislike it, I can carry you. Hu Jiu shrugged. Wow, so you are waiting for me here? I said, why, you are so kind. You are trying to take advantage of me, you scumbag. Ning Rongrong pointed at Hu Jiu, his eyes full of anger. She didn't expect that Hu Jiu wanted to treat her like this, even when she had Xiao Wu. Sure enough, there is nothing good about men. Hey, just like you, do you think I want to take advantage of you? If you want to have no body, you want to have no face. If you don't want to do business with you, you think I want to serve you? Hu Jiu slanted eyes glanced at her. Take advantage? What advantage can you take in the little girl's film? You bastard. Ning Rongrong stared at Hu Jiu with claws, wishing to bite him twice. Thinking of her natural beauty, a delicate princess like a little fairy. When was she said to be beautiful? This Hu Jiu is really hateful. Haha, if you want to do it or not. If you don't do it, I'll leave. Hu Jiu didn't want to get used to her. It's just a self-created soul skill. The big deal is that I have a cute and well-behaved Xiao Wu. Whatever you do. Looking at Hu Jiu's eyes, Ning Rongrong could be sure that he really didn't care about him. At the same time of loss, there is also some anger. Isn't the old lady not good looking? And in this wilderness, if Hu Jiu left her alone, she would be a little scared. As soon as his eyes rolled, it was a ghost idea in an instant. Ning Rongrong showed a smile. Then, thank you brother Jiu for your help. Little sister, thank you brother Jiu for taking care of you. Carry me away. When you catch up with Zhu Zuking and the others, I don't need you to carry it. Come on. We need to catch up with them quickly. It's been a long time. Although he didn't know that Ning Rongrong's mood changed so quickly, Hu Jiu didn't think much about it. He just thought it was her child. It's a change of character. Crouching down, Ning Rongrong suddenly jumped onto Hu Jiu's back and wrapped his hands around his neck mischievously. Let's go on his back. Ning Rongrong shouted playfully. Hu Jiu ignored Ning Rongrong on his back, kicked with his feet. A small hole exploded on the ground. His body flew high, and he jumped out more than 10 meters in one step. Hu Jiu, slow down, I'm afraid. When had Ning Rongrong ever seen Hu Jiu's savage way of traveling? She was so frightened that she hugged Hu Jiu's neck tightly with both hands, screaming constantly along the way. Don't yell, it hurts my ears. Hu Jiu tilted his head in dissatisfaction. Dissatisfied with Ning Rongrong's fuss, however, the pace slowed down a little. Did you just say that you have a business with me? The strong wind blew, and Ning Rongrong suddenly thought of what Hu Jiu had just said. Well, you've seen my spiral Meru spirit ability. As an auxiliary spirit master, it's very dangerous to have no attack ability. I think you may need this spirit ability, Hu Jiu said without raising his head. Helix Pearl. Are you really willing to sell it to me? After hearing this, Ning Rongrong came to his senses. She had seen the power of Helix Pill with her own eyes yesterday. Such a powerful power was stronger than some storm type spirit ring skills. Be great. The key is that this is a self-created soul skill, and even her auxiliary system soul master can use it. Growing up in the sect, she immediately thought of the value of this spirit ability. If you take this soul skill home and give it to dad, he will be very happy. You made a mistake. It's not selling, but changing. Hu Jiu said. Change? What do you want to change? Ning Rongrong was taken aback and asked. Of course, it's a soul skill for a soul skill. Otherwise, what do you think I'm going to change? Hu Jiu looked back at Ning Rongrong lightly. I'll just say it straight. It is said that in your 7 treasure glazed tile school, there is a self-distracted and controlled soul creation skill. I want to exchange spiral pill for that. Distracted control. It's impossible. This soul skill is secretly passed down by our sect and cannot be taught to outsiders at will. Ning Rongrong refused. Heh. Sect secret biography. When did distraction control become your family's? How do I remember that this spirit skill was widely circulated in the outside world, but this spirit skill is difficult to cultivate and has little effect. It's slowly lost. Why can't you teach it to outsiders in your mouth? Hu Jiu looked at Ning Rongrong, who seemed to be protecting food, amused. Furthermore, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. If my spiral pill gets into your hands, it won't be long before every one of you 7 treasure glazed tile school will use it. Thanks. For Trace M. Cherry Blossom reward. Make a note of it first and add it together. Only now did I realize that 3 is even more difficult. Chapter 112. Xiao Wu is jealous. How do you know everything? Are you investigating me? Ning Rongrong put her hands over Hu Jiu's head, looked at him suspiciously and asked, you think too much. The 7 treasure glazed tile sect, one of the top 3 sects, such a famous sect. Do I still need to investigate? Hu Jiu looked at Ning Rongrong impatiently. You can change it or not. But I don't have time to gossip with you, since you know that the spiral pill is in the hands of the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Why are you willing to exchange it for me? Ning Rongrong asked suspiciously. She couldn't understand Hu Jiu. It's okay to tell you. Do you really think that spiral meru is so easy to practice? Do you think anyone can practice the spirit skills that can give auxiliary spirit masters the offensive ability? Soul power manipulation ability has not reached a certain level. If you want to practice spiral pill, it is a dream. Do you really think that Hu Jiu is a good man? Co-authoring, you exchange a soul skill that is difficult to train for my family's distraction control. Ning Rongrong said dissatisfied. Then, it's easy for you to practice distraction control. Hu Jiu didn't even bother to turn his head back. Besides, which of the self-created soul skills is easy to practice? This point, as a member of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, you don't you know? Now Ning Rongrong is speechless. She has a deep understanding of how difficult it is to distract and control soul skills. Moreover, as Hu Jiu said, if soul skills are easy to practice, then the world will become more difficult. It won't be just the world of spirit rings. Just say whether to change it or not. After running for so long, Hu Jiu had already sensed that someone was ahead, and he didn't want to continue to talk to Ning Rongrong. I'll change it. No matter how you think about this deal, it won't be a loss. There is no reason for Ning Rongrong to refuse. So what if the spiral pill is difficult to practice? There are so many people in the 7 treasure glazed tile school. As long as 1 or 2 are practiced, it is a profit. Moreover, distraction control is indeed not her family, and there are rumors in the outside world, but it is not as important as them. This deal can be done. That's right. After receiving a positive answer, Hu Jiu's tone became better. It's not worth it for him to help Ning Rongrong once today. Isn't that the goal? After the deal was reached, Hu Jiu started to concentrate on his journey, and after a while he caught up with the large army. 9th. Brother, it's fortunate that you are here. Otherwise the little sister doesn't know what to do today. Just as Hu Jiu stopped, she heard Ning Rongrong on her back say aloud. It was like showing off. Oops. Hu Jiu's heart skipped a beat and hurriedly looked towards Xiao Wu point as a result. As expected, he saw Xiao Wu's angry little eyes. Hurry down. Do you think I'll back you up if you don't have the conditions? Hu Jiu reprimanded with a serious face, and then put Ning Rongrong down very quickly, keeping a distance from her. The sample. If you want to trick me, there is no way. Point. Unfortunately, Hu Jiu underestimated women, and underestimated their rationality. Women have no brains when they get angry. Point. According to his idea, as long as he interprets his back against Ning Rongrong as a purposeful act, Xiao Wu should understand it very well. Point. After all, he is the master who can't afford to be too early. HMPH. Hu Jiu, you are really kind. You have never carried me like this before, but you carried other women first. Do you not want me anymore? Xiao Wu looked at Hu Jiu with tears in her eyes. Not even her name. Full name. I'm so wronged. Seeing Xiao Wu's appearance, Hu Jiu hurried to her side and explained, I'm really making a deal with this woman, trading soul skills. This Ning Rongrong is very cunning. She thinks I cheated her out of money to cheat me like this. Don't worry about her. Hu Jiu glared at Ning Rangrong. This girl's film is really hateful. Really? Looking at Hu Jiu's eyes, Xiao Wu was suspicious. Really? I swear by the reputation of Xiaozhen, if it's not true, I'll let him be struck by thunder and black. Hu Jiu swears with a serious face. It's so cruel. Hu Jiu's words immediately made Xiao Wu turn her back and forth, and she didn't even care about being jealous and angry. Xiao Jiu, do you think I don't exist? Tang San looked over with a dark face. Good, buddy, it's up to you at the critical moment. Look, doesn't this make Xiao Wu laugh? Hu Jiu smiled complacently, without any embarrassment. Point brother, isn't it just for pitting? Hey, I can't do anything about you. Tang San shook his head, too lazy to care about him. Point here. Ning Rangrong saw that Hu Jiu had resolved her plan, and glared at him several times angrily. Point after all, she is also the daughter of heaven. In Hu Jiu's mouth, she actually helped her for the sake of making a deal, which made her very unconvinced. Point in terms of appearance, she is no worse than Xiao Wu. When have you been looked down upon like this, brother? Jiu, you are this. Seeing Hu Jiu's performance, Mahanjan sneaked over quietly and gave him a thumbs up to express his admiration. Point Hu Jiu smiled lightly. Basic operation. Point on the other hand, Oscar, ever since Hu Jiu appeared in front of him carrying Ning Rangrong on his back, his expression was extremely complicated. Point it was an expression of love that ended before it even started. Point at this moment, he hated his sausage spell extremely because of this spell. I'm afraid that no woman will like him. Point suddenly, Oscar had an idea, and he thought of Hu Jiu. Point remember, Hu Jiu has a way of suppressing spells. If he learns how to use spirit skills without chanting spells, won't he be a handsome and beautiful little man from now on, with his handsome face? If you want to find a girlfriend, you can't find it anywhere. Just hook your fingers on the street. Point thinking of this, Oscar didn't care about being sad, and glanced at Hu Jiu with fiery eyes, thinking about how to learn his method. Xiao, Ayo, are you itchy? How could Hu Jiu not sense Oscar's gaze, especially when Oscar was staring at a neutral and handsome face, looking at him with fiery eyes? If he didn't have the ability to resist, afraid not to bend. Hey, brother Jiu, are you tired? Or I'll beat your legs. Oscar ran over, ignoring the contemptuous size of those present. I have something to say. Hu Jiu looked at Oscar angrily. This kid has a lot of ghosts. Brother Jiu, can't you use spirit skills without chanting spells, so that you can easily tell the younger brother how to do it? Oscar knew Hu Jiu's temperament, and went straight to the topic, explaining the purpose. Simple, as long as a soul power control ability reaches a certain level. Hu Jiu said casually. It's that simple. Brother Ninth, you're not lying to me, are you? Oscar's eyes widened. If it's so simple, why hasn't he heard of it? Ha. At this moment, Ning Rangrong chuckled disdainfully. Perhaps it's only you who think it's easy. If you want to use spirit skills without reciting spells, even some spirit Douluo powerhouses can't do it. So would it still be easy? In the 7 treasure glazed tile school, only his father, Ning Fengzi, could do this, and it was only done at the Soul Saint stage. Chapter 113 Transaction with Zhu Zuking. So it's so difficult to control spirit power. Oscar immediately believed what Ning Rangrong said. Point he stood there in a daze, stunned. Of course, you thought you were that monster. Ning Rangrong glanced at Oscar, then stopped paying attention. Point in her heart, Hu Jiu is the real monster. As a food type soul master, he has a rare ability to attack, and his level is 2 big realms from hers, which makes her have a different view of Hu Jiu. Sister Zhu Zuking, can I borrow your martial spirit? Ning Rangrong came to Zhu Zuking and asked gently. Point Zhu Zuking looked at her unsurely. Can the spirit be borrowed? I don't seem to be able to explain it clearly. Just let me try it. Ning Rangrong opened her mouth, not knowing how to describe it. Point Zhu Zuking nodded lightly and looked at Ning Rangrong curiously. Soul ability change it for me. Ning Rangrang's thoughts moved, and he controlled the power that belonged to Hu Jiu's changed carrot point in the next instant. Ning Rangrang changed point. Two black cat ears like ZHU's Yukings appeared on Ning Rangrang's head, and a long tail swayed from side to side behind him, making Ning Rangrang a little overwhelmed. Point this cattail, she has never controlled it. A pair of gentle eyes also became sharp, and the eyeballs became sky blue. Point with both hands. 10 sharp claws popped out, making Ning Rangrang suddenly become aggressive. Point even the body has become more beautiful. Hey. ZHU Zuking glanced at Ning Rangrang, who was in the state of being possessed by a ghost cat, and asked, how did you do it? You have to ask him about this. Ning Rangrang pointed at Hu Jiu. I only became like this after eating his carrots. After saying this, Ning Rangrang touched her body with a curious expression on her face. Possessed by her spirit, she had never experienced such an experience before. The moment Ning Rangrang finished possessing the body, the corner of Damu Bei's mouth twitched in the distance. He felt two auras similar to his, and there was a feeling that they could complement each other. Point this feeling suddenly changed the way Damu Bei looked at Ning Rangrang. What are you looking at? You've never seen a beautiful woman. Feeling that gaze, Ning Rangrang gave Damu Bei a vicious look. Point no wonder everyone called him Sihu. It seems that he is right. Point seeing Damu Bei's performance, ZHU Zuking's face became even colder, and even Tang San and the others felt that icy aura. I want to talk to you. ZHU Zuking came straight to Hu Jiu, ignoring everyone's strange eyes. Okay. Hu Jiu smiled at ZHU Zuking's pure and persistent face, as well as the stagnant eyes. This kind of beautiful girl who is fighting for her own destiny should be helped. He, Hu Jiu, is willing to lend a helping hand. I'll go to. Xiao Wu hugged Hu Jiu's arm, and said with a smile. Point that look. How does it look like a thief? ZHU Zuking looked at Xiao Wu, and did not speak, but the meaning of rejection was obvious under ZHU Zuking's gaze. Xiao Wu felt a little guilty. She felt that she was too sensitive. It's fine. I'll be fine soon. I'll be back in a while. Hu Jiu patted Xiao Wu's hand, and said to her, okay, then hurry up. Xiao Wu reluctantly released her hand. Hu Jiu and ZHU Zuking stopped not far from the crowd. Come on, they won't hear you talking here. Hu Jiu looked at ZHU Zuking and said, I want to become stronger. Can you help me? ZHU Zuking looked at Hu Jiu seriously and explained, I saw them all eating your carrots on the way. I think the reason why your spirit power level should be the reason for your carrot to improve so fast. I didn't expect you to be so smart. You can even guess this. Hu Jiu was even more impressed with ZHU Zuking. But why should I help you? Are you rich? Hu Jiu asked with a smile. It is impossible to give for nothing. In order to cultivate carrots, he made a bet on his own future, and the bet was that the spirit ring skill would be able to hang up. Point in the end, he won, but only he knows how much risk there is. I don't have any money. ZHU Zuking hesitated for a while, then slowly spit out 3 words. It is true that she has no money. In the family, she has been abandoned. Although there is no official announcement, it is the truth. Point that's why she came to Shrek to make a last-ditch gamble. Point and all her savings have been used up because of the increase in the tuition fee of Flender, and now even the meals are registered in the spirit hall. How can I help you if I don't have money? Hu Jiu spread out his hands, expressing powerlessness. I can give everything. Everything? Hu Jiu heard the words. His breathing was messed up. His eyes scanned ZHU Zuking's whole body impolitely, especially in that big place. He couldn't help staying there for a long time. This request was hard to refuse. Everything. ZHU Zuking resisted the urge to flee, his voice trembling, and he said firmly, oh, you're making me very embarrassed. After a long time, under the strong mental will, Hu Jiu regained his senses. I have a reason why I have to become stronger. Can you help me? ZHU Zuking looked at Hu Jiu without hesitation. Persistent and stubborn. Hu Jiu stretched and asked an irrelevant question lazily. Can you meow? ZHU Zuking hesitated for a moment, and finally nodded. As the inheritance family of the ghost cat, they grew up with kittens. How could they not meow? Call me one. Hu Jiu ordered. ZHU Zuking pursed his lips. A hint of shyness flashed in his eyes. I didn't expect this person to have such a peculiar hobby, but thinking of his destined destiny in the future, ZHU Zuking's eyes became firm again. Meow. A soft cat-like voice rang softly in Hu Jiu's ears. Hey. Hu Jiu tasted it for a long time, then looked at ZHU Zuking badly and said, well, I'm very satisfied. Otherwise, you will greet me with a cat meow every time you see me in the future, no matter when. If you agree to my request, then I will provide you with carrots for cultivation. Forgot to tell you, my cultivation carrots can double the speed of cultivation. You should consider it. Don't think about it, I promise. Hearing the effect of Hu Jiu's carrot, ZHU Zuking began to breathe quickly and agreed without thinking. Okay, it's a pleasure to cooperate. You will know how wise your decision today is in the future. Hu Jiu stretched out his hand with a smile. ZHU Zuking hesitated for a moment and shook hands with him from behind. G. Soft, meow. Just as Hu Jiu was about to go back, ZHU Zuking's dissatisfied cat meow sounded, as if to remind him of something. Oh, look at me, I almost forgot my business. Hu Jiu patted his forehead, as if he hadn't paid the bill yet. He quickly took out a few carrots and handed them over. Remember, the duration of cultivation carrots is only 1 hour. If you want to continue cultivation, remember to control the time. Meow. The cat meows only once, and countless times also. It seems like a lot of fun. Thank you, Khan God. Book friend 20210327232418768. Sakura_Sakura reward. Chapter 114. You are a mediocrity. When Hu Jiu and ZHU Zuking came out of the woods, everyone looked at them with strange eyes, especially Xiao Wu and Damubei. Xiao Wu's eyes quickly scanned the two of them, as if searching for something. On the other hand, Damubei's reaction was a bit strange. It seemed relieved, it seemed angry, and even a hint of ruthlessness under the influence of Hu Jiu's changing carrot. His life can be described as extremely rich. A woman is not very important in his eyes. It's just because of the name and the beauty of ZHU Zuking that made him think. Just when everyone was guessing what they were talking about inside, ZHU Zuking came to Xiao Wu and Ning Rang Grang with a blank face, as if nothing had happened. Even Hu Jiu had a relaxed look on his face, and he couldn't see any other emotions at all. Since everyone is here, let's go. The dean and teacher have already left. Let's go to the small town near the Stardao Great Forest to find them. This is Tang San stood up. Right, said the crowd. Hu Jiu took out a white carrot and threw it to ZHU Zuking. Since he even gave the carrots for cultivation, he didn't care about the carrots for recovery, and he simply helped people to the end, lest she couldn't keep up with everyone's footsteps. Next, the group started to hurry again. When tired, eat Hu Jiu Sheng one carrot to recover, and then go on the road again. However, there was something Xiao Wu quietly told him that made Hu Jiu laugh for a long time. It is said that when the three of Flender left early, she saw that the master was running with Flender under his arm. Otherwise, the master might not be able to run them. You have to suffer to save face. Hu Jiu could only comment on this. In the evening, the group finally came to a small town near the Great Stardao Forest. Do you know where the dean and the others are? Hu Jiu asked. Come with me, I know where they are. Damubei stood up. He and Flender had been to this place a few times, so he was fairly familiar with it. At night, the town looked very lively, with a dazzling array of snacks and various shops around, which made Xiao Wu's eyes light up. Xiao Jiu, let's go out for a walk later. Okay. I didn't visit it the last time I came here. Okay. Hu Jiu nodded with a smile. Under the leadership of Damubei, a few people came to an ordinary hotel. Hu Jiu was a little impressed. He remembered that Xiao Waoqi brought them here at first, but later Hu Jiu changed it to make the teacher drink good wine. A hotel. In the hotel, they found Flender and others who were eating. Go and arrange your own accommodation and leave early tomorrow, Flender said to them, without any intention of arranging accommodation for them or treating guests to dinner. Stingy dean. Xiao Wu whispered, let's go. Open the room first, then eat something, and then go out to play. Hu Jiu pulled Xiao Wu to the hotel counter. Open room, of course, is a one-person room. Only Ning Rang likes to share a room with Zhu Zuking, and the rest are separated. 8 people just sat at a table. After the room was opened, they gathered around a table and ordered a lot of dishes. Boss Day, you are the biggest here. You'll have to invite me for this meal today. Mahanjan spoke as soon as he got to the table. It's no problem to treat guests. It's time to welcome the 2 new schoolgirls. Damu Bei said boldly. He even had money to buy Hu Jiu's carrots, so how could he care about this cost? At this moment, a group of young students wearing Kanghu college clothes walked into the hotel under the leadership of man in his 40s who had parted his hair. Seeing their clothes, Hu Jiu suddenly remembered, as if there was a dragon suit here. He forgot the name of the teacher who took the lead. But he only remembered that he was a bastard martial artist, as if he had been beaten by his teacher with his bare hands. This group of people acted arrogantly, and they all looked like the biggest old man in the world. Seeing them show their teeth and claws to drive away customers, Mahanjan rolled his eyes and said loudly, "Hey, that chick looks good, Boss Day." They seem to be from Kanghu Academy, those eyes, but involuntarily glanced at the only pretty girl in the group. Damu Bei curled his lips and said disdainfully, "It's just a small Kanghu Academy, don't worry about it, little Maya. Be honest with me, don't look for me when you get beaten up later." Hu Jiu frowned. This little fat man is the first to cause trouble. It's not that he has an opinion on his behavior. The main reason is that he is dissatisfied with his use of a girl to provoke trouble. Mahanjan's voice was very loud, and the group of people who had just entered immediately noticed their table. Especially when they saw that they were not very old. There was an angry expression on their faces here. Mahanjan was said by Hu Jiu. But his expression restrained a little, and he did not continue to speak. "That's a good show to watch," Oscar whispered beside Tang San. "What? Good show?" Tang San asked inexplicably. Oscar whispered, "This is also a part of our practice." Dean Flender said that a soul master who dares not cause trouble is not a good soul master. People are the safest, and at most it is just a fight. Anyway, there will be no life threatening. It makes sense. Hu Jiu was speechless. Damn Flender. Under his guidance, it was no wonder that Damu Bei, Oscar and Mahanjan were taught such virtues dare to cause trouble. "I'm afraid the beatings won't be enough." At this time, the teacher with the flat head in the middle attracted a young student and said something in his ear. The man nodded when he heard the words and then strode towards Hu Jiu's table, but his course of action was facing Damu Bei. As for the reason, it might be that Damu Bei is the oldest in their group. Just in time, a waiter came to them with a plate of dishes. The young student suddenly quickened his pace and hit the waiter at once, not only knocking the waiter down, but even the dish in his hand flew towards Damu Bei. At this moment, Tang San, who was closest to the waiter, suddenly shot out, holding the waiter with his left hand and using his right hand to control the crane and capture the dragon. He took the dishes in midair into his hands without spilling a trace. However, because of the occlusion of the waiter, the young man did not see this scene. "I'm sorry, I missed it." The young man smiled and continued to walk forward. When he was walking beside Damu Bei, he suddenly stretched out his right leg and swept the leg of the chair under his ass with the strength on the young man's legs. If no one picked it up, he would definitely smash the legs of the chair and throw Damu Bei on the horse. But Damu Bei wasn't such a messy character. He wasn't even convinced by Hu Jiu. Seeing the spirit power running on his legs, he turned his body at an angle and blocked the young man's attack with his legs. The young man was stunned for a moment because he kicked Damu Bei's leg with 80% of his strength. Not only did he not achieve merit, but it was as if he had kicked on a steel plate. At this time, Damu Bei's counterattack also began. Chapter 115. After blocking the young man's attack, Damu Bei used his soul power and slapped it with a palm. The violent wind hit his face, making the young man's complexion change greatly. The power of this palm was too great for him to take point, but Damu Bei's attack was so fast. Before he could dodge, the palm had already hit him. The giant attacked The young man bowed his body and was instantly knocked out. After smashing several tables one after another, he was finally rescued by the young teacher in the crowd. Wow. He vomited a mouthful of blood and his breath instantly wilted. Haha, I'm sorry, I also missed it. Daemubei's eyes were full of domineering, and he said arrogantly, that arrogant look. Not to mention outsiders, even among their own, there are several who can't help frowning. When they saw someone fighting, the guests in the hotel were in an uproar. They didn't even eat their meals and hurried out the door, not even watching the excitement. Although the two shot only for a split second, from the power of the attack, it can be seen that this is a battle between soul masters. How can ordinary people like them dare to watch more? In the blink of an eye, the hotel was already empty, and only the Shrek 8 monsters and the 8 people from Tang Hu Academy were left. Here. Seeing their partner being beaten, the students of Tang Hu Academy couldn't bear it anymore, and they stepped forward one after another, wanting to attack Shrek. However, fortunately, the middle point teacher was more cautious and reached out to stop them. Which academy are you from? Teacher Zongfen looked at Daemubei and asked, why, Pandeo, you're not worthy. Daemubei glanced at the teacher in the middle class with disdain and sat down in his seat again. Daemubei's arrogant appearance made Teacher Zongfen's head look messed up. A bunch of arrogant boys. Give them to me. I want them to look good. The middle-aged teacher, is no longer a middle-aged teacher. As soon as the middle-aged teacher's words came out, the group of students behind him rushed towards Shrek. They had been waiting for the teacher's words. Fight. I like it. Xiao Wu was delighted to hear the battle, and the first one couldn't help but jump out. Xiao Wu, come back. Hu Jiu stretched out her hand and pulled Xiao Wu back to her seat and sat down. The matter was caused by Daemubei and Mahangjin. If he had the ability to cause trouble, he should bear the consequences of causing trouble, but Hu Jiu didn't want to help. Humph. Fighting in groups. I like it. Daemubei didn't care about Xiao Wu's side. When he saw the people from Tang Hu College rushing over, he had already stood up and faced Tang Hu's 7 students by himself. Master, everyone, please don't fight in the small shop. It's a small business. Please don't fight in the small shop. At the critical moment, the shop owner who was watching the play finally stood up. Ruined. Looking at the shopkeeper lying in the middle of them, the people from Tang Hu Academy stopped and looked at the teacher behind them at a loss. HMPH, what are you looking at? Go outside if you can. None of you can run away today. The middle-aged teacher's words made Hu Jiu, who was sitting in the seat watching the play, frown. Who are you looking for? What is it about me? Just go out. Boss Day, I'll help you. Mahangjin also stood up at this time, and his spirit power broke through the 30th level, which made him act arrogant. The people from Tang Hu College left the hotel and waited for them on the street outside. Daemubei and Mahangjin walked out first. Tang San looked at the back of the two leaving and said worriedly, should we help them? We are a team. It's true that it's a team, but their behavior was not approved by me. Their strength is not very good, but they are very active in causing trouble. Hu Jiu snorted coldly, sitting in the seat without moving. If they are all like them, if you are so arrogant, you might have to cause a lot of trouble in the future, and let them teach you a lesson. Isn't that what the dean taught us? Oscar asked hesitantly. If the dean asks you to cause trouble, you will cause trouble. Then if you want to eat shit, will you eat it? Hu Jiu was too lazy to speak. He was thinking, when the soul hunt is over, he will clean up Mahangjin for a while, when he goes back, and put him first. Say it again. As a younger brother, you have to look like a younger brother. The boss didn't say anything, and he acted without permission. It's time to discipline and discipline, little San. If you really think we are a team, then you have to subdue them all. If you want to be the core of a team, no one will listen to you. Hu Jiu patted Tang San's shoulders, said earnestly, I'm not talking nonsense. Hu Jiu's words made Tang San wave his hands repeatedly. His expression panicked. He doesn't want to be the core of the team. He just wants to reproduce the hidden weapon of Tang sect in this world. It's a pity my sister, Xiao Wu, wasn't there for the fight. Xiao Wu felt very tasteless while eating the food. Let's eat yours. It's not easy to fight. From now on, I will take you to the Great Soul Arena and fight until you feel sick. Hu Jiu put a carrot in her mouth and said angrily, point, the little girl's family knows how to fight in one day. If it is a few years later, I have to let you know what it means to be overdrawn and unable to get up. Point. Hu Jiu didn't move. Xiao Wu and Tang San naturally didn't move either. Oscar moved, but he was just lying in front of the hotel to watch a play, and he didn't dare to go out at all. Point. On the other hand, Zhu Zuking, with a cold expression from beginning to end, seriously ate the food in front of him. Point. On the contrary, Ning Rangran felt a little eager to try. Point. After all, she is also a little witch from the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, and she also wants to watch and even participate in such things as fights. However, when she thought of her good girl's character, she couldn't help it. The character couldn't collapse. Here, Damu Bei and Mahanjan had already fought with Kanghu Academy. Point. The 2 of them fought against Kanghu and the other 6, and they were stunned to suppress them. Point. The people of Kanghu Academy were not strong, except for the one who was kicked away by Damu Bei at the beginning, who was at the 27th level. The rest were mostly at the 25th level. Point. Damu Bei, a 38th level assault type soul venerable, could still win, even if he were to fight 6 people alone. Not to mention that there was now a 30th level Mahanjan. Idiot. Let go of the martial arts. Are you all idiots? Seeing that he had been beaten for a long time, his side was actually suppressed by 2 children. The middle-aged teacher shouted angrily to his students. Hearing the words, Kang Hui's 6 people immediately took a few steps back and released their martial spirits. 2 weapon spirits, one is a spear and a 3-pronged fork. 4 beast spirits, namely deer, sheep, horse, and a small sparrow, are all beast spirits with weak attack power. Oh, martial arts competition. Who is afraid of who? Damu's white evil eyes flashed. White tiger, possessed. At the moment of possession, Damu Bei's body swelled in a circle. His hands turned into tiger claws. 10 dagger-like claws kept expanding and contracting in his hands. A king's word appeared on his forehead, and his eyes turned into beast-like vertical pupils under his feet. 3 spirit rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, slowly moved, exuding a tyrannical and domineering aura. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116, Unification of Shrek. Yeah. 3-ring spirit master, and there is also a 1000-year spirit ring. As soon as Damu Bei's spirit ring appeared, the Kang Hui students on the opposite side were shocked. They didn't expect Damu Bei to be so strong. No wonder you are so arrogant. You do have the capital to be arrogant. The middle-aged teacher looked at Damu Bei's spirit and his spirit ring, and was immediately surprised. Haha, and mine. Mahanjan laughed, and came to Damu Bei's side. Phoenix, possessed. A red light emerged from Fatty's body. His hands turned into sharp claws at the same time. Long feathers appeared on his exposed arms, and the 2 yellow spirit rings slowly spun under his feet, which combined with Damu Bei's aura, was even more overwhelming. The people at Hui Academy were out of breath. All retreat. You are not opponents. This battle, let me come. At this time, the middle-aged teacher finally couldn't stand. He came to Kang Hui student and looked at Damu Bei and Mahanjan with a solemn expression. Remember, there were only 8 of them in the group just now, and only 2 have come out now. If all of them come out, even if the strength is similar to the current 2, it will be very troublesome for him to deal with. Why, you want to bully the younger with the big one? Damu Bei looked at the middle-aged teacher with a sneer. I'm Yu, the teacher of Kanghu College. May I ask which sect you are from? In Yu's heart, those high-level sects were the only thing he could teach. Haha, we are from Shrek Academy, Mahanjan said proudly. Shrek Academy. Yu carefully recalled the information about this academy in his mind. As a result, after searching the whole mind, I found that there is no information about this academy at all. Have you never heard of this academy? HMPH, that's your ignorance. Damu Bei sneered. Seeing Damu Bei Cho's threatening aura, Yu's eyes flashed with anger. Mysterious turtle, possessed. A circle of black ripples emanated, instantly dissipating the momentum of Dame Yu. Bei Mahanjan and the two of them point at the same time. His limbs shrank, and a large tortoise shell appeared behind him. The entire body, except for the head and limbs, was amazingly wrapped in tortoise shells under his feet. 5 spirit rings appeared, 1 white, 2 yellow, and 2 purple, which turned out to be a spirit king of beast martial arts above the 50th rank. Haha, it turned out to be a bastard. What, do you dare to do something to us? Mahanjan is not a person who is afraid of things, you know. His boss Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu are still inside. What about a 50 level Soul King? As long as the two of them used their martial soul fusion skills, even the Soul King could fight. Unfortunately, what he didn't know was that his boss would be thinking about what excuse to make up for him and let him remember. As soon as Mahanjan's words Wang Bei were spoken, Yizukyu's heart was filled with great anger. Because of his martial spirit, the word Wang Bei was a taboo for him, but he didn't expect to touch it. This time, Yuzukyu no longer worried about whether there was anyone behind the two. He just wanted to teach them a profound lesson. The third spirit ability, Profound Ice Turbulence. A black cold current emanated, heading straight for Daimyo Bei and Mahanjan. Phoenix. Line of fire. White. Tiger Eye Wave. Seeing Yizukyu's attack, Mahanjan and Daimyo Bei immediately acted, each using their spirit abilities to resist the cold current. However, Yuzukyu was a soul king of more than 50 levels, and even if it was only the third soul skill, it was not something they could take over. Thump. Just after a face-to-face, the two were beaten out. Fortunately, after all, the two of them used their soul skills to block them. Otherwise they would have to be injured. Even if they barely resisted the attack, the two of them felt a pain in their chests. Boss Day, if we can't beat him, we'll retreat. Mahanjan rolled a few times and finally realized how powerful Yuzukyu was. He didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. Got up and ran to the hotel. Run. Can you run away? Yuzukyu sneered, and a cold current spit out of his mouth again, shooting directly at the two of them. Boom. A thick meteor hammer crossed in front of the cold current, blocking the attack. Hu Jiu appeared. It's okay to teach them a lesson, but you can't destroy this hotel. We'll have to live in tonight. Hu Jiu's body was covered with golden rays of light, his muscles bulging high, and he held a meteor hammer that was bigger than a watermelon. A strong bloody breath rushed towards him. That is the light that belongs to King Kong's indestructible cultivation to the state of great achievement. 9th. Brother, you are finally here. The brothers are being bullied. Mahanjan shouted loudly. You deserve it. Who made you arrogant? Wait to go back and slowly clean up you. Hu Jiu glanced at Mahanjan angrily. In the end, it was his little brother. At a critical moment, he still appeared. Haha, very good. Here's another one, then I'll clean up with you too. Yuzukyu looked at Hu Jiu with a sneer. Today he was going to clean up these little bastards, and no one could stop him. He said, HMPH, are you ready to come here? Xiao Wu and Tang San appeared at the door of the hotel. Behind them, ZHU Zuking followed quietly. Even Ning Rangrang and Oscar couldn't help but stand up. At this moment, the Shrek 8 monsters finally stood together. Whether it can be cleaned up, you'll know if you try. Yuzukyu stood on the spot with a solemn expression. The 8 people standing together put a lot of pressure on him, especially Hu Jiu, who was holding a meteor hammer in the middle. The powerful aura made him dare not even blink his eyes for fear of being careless. Hu Jiu's meteor hammer flew over. Hu Jiu ignored Yuzukyu, but turned to look at Daimyo Bei, whose head was covered in black ice scum. Brother, I will help you fight this matter today, or you can solve it yourself. That's right. After today's incident, he felt that there was only one voice in the Shrek 8 monsters, and this voice was him. Other than him, who would dare to run wild on his head? He would be tired of living. Looking at Hu Jiu's smiling, but not smiling eyes, Daimyo Bei's eyes narrowed. This was to force him to express his stance. After a moment of silence, he looked at Tang San, Xiao Wu, and Mahanjan beside Hu Jiu. There was even ZHU Zuking, who was silently hiding behind Hu Jiu's back. At this moment, Daimyo Bei fell silent. After a long while, he said with difficulty, 9. Brother, it's not that he hasn't called before, but that was more of a joke. This time is different. This time is a real statement. Hu Jiu has a cultivation carrot, and in this life, he can't surpass it at all. Moreover, offending Hu Jiu, will he still have carrots to eat? Thinking of the bleak consequences of failing to accept the fate of the Star Luo Empire in the future, Daemube finally lowered his arrogant head. Ha ha ha. Good. Hu Jiu looked at Daemube with satisfaction. This kid is quite sensible. However, it is still undertrained, and it has been cultivated by Flender and needs to be upright. Ah. You finished talking? At this moment, Yuzuki's gloomy voice came over. He seemed to be ignored. The dignified Soul King of more than 50 levels was ignored by a group of children, and he felt humiliated. Chapter 117 Battle Soul King. Haha, Battle Soul King, it seems to be pretty good. Hu Jiu glanced at the partner beside him, and gave an order. Xiaobei, Xiaoma, Xiao, Kitten, you all attack. Little Sun, you escort them from behind, and contain the enemy. By the way, Rangrong, give us one in the auxiliary state. No need for a junior, and I don't need to add it, you can't afford it. He really couldn't afford it. With his current body speed, if Ning Rangrong added his state to him, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to last for 5 seconds. Finally, it's Xiao. Cheer for us, make your voice louder. After thinking for a long time, Hu Jiu suddenly realized that Oscar seemed to be the most useless one. His first spirit ability is to restore the big sausage, and the second spirit ability is to detoxify the small sausage. The effect of these two spirit abilities, his holy light carrot has both, and the effect is even better, close to the effect of the spirit ring of 7,000 years. Is it comparable to Oscar's centennial soul ring? Oscar opened his mouth and finally lowered his head helplessly. Okay, it was only at this moment that he realized that in this team, he was the most useless one. 7. Treasures turn out with colored glass. One says strength, and the other says speed. Hu Jiu's order made Ning Rangrong summon his martial spirit like a conditioned reflex, and bright colorful rays of light kept shooting from her fingers. It fell on Daemube and the others. A very high increase. Feel full of power. Even the speed has increased. The auxiliary effect added to the body, causing Daemube and Mahanjan to exclaim. It was the first time they felt such an obvious blessing effect. Even Xiao Wu and Zhu's Yuking's eyes lit up. Their strength has been increased a lot. The surprise of the crowd made Ning Rangrong proudly raise her chin, overwhelmed with pride. Next, Hu Jiu flicked her wrist, and a few carrots flew towards Oscar and Ning Rangrong. Xiao, tell Rangrong the effect of my third spirit ability. After getting everything ready, Hu Jiu gave Daemube a look and the battle began. Haha, tortoise bastard, wait for the beating. Dare to beat the young master. You are finished today. Mahanjan stood at the front carelessly, looking arrogant again. Battle. Daemube held back his anger, and now was the time to vent. Fight the bastard. I'll come too. White Tiger King Khan transformation. White Tiger violent light wave. Daemube transformed for the second time. His body increased again, and a thick white light wave spit out from his mouth, attacking and killing Yuzuki. Phoenix. In the fire. Phoenix line of fire. Mahanjan, not to be outdone, opened up with the fire phoenix, covering his body with flames, blowing out a line of fire from his mouth, and attacked at the same time. Twist. At the same time, Tang San's attack also started. Thick blue silver grasses emerged from the ground, wrapping Yuzuki tightly. Shrink-faced. With so many attacks, Yuzuki smiled disdainfully, and instantly retracted his head and limbs to the tortoise shell, directly resisting their attacks. Boom. The light waves, and the line of fire hit the tortoise shell, and ripples swayed in circles, causing no damage to Yuzuki. Tang San's entanglement was even more useless, because Yuzuki didn't need to move at all. Ha, look at me, bow your waist, get up. Xiao Wu's third spirit ring lit up instantly, and in a flash, her body came to Yuzuki's tortoise shell. Little Sun, help me. Xiao Wu clamped the tortoise shell between her legs, and with the help of Tang San's blue silver grass, she successfully threw Yuzuki up. Hey, 8 and fall. Xiao Wu shouted excitedly, instantly catching up with the tortoise shell, putting the spirit power station on her leg, and hitting her with the whip point. Boom, boom, bang bang. Facing Izuku with her limbs retracted. It was a novel toy for Xiao Wu, and she completely used her 8 and full point. That violent posture made Dame Yubei and the others shudder fiercely. It turned out that Xiao Wu was so violent. Ah, damn it, you've annoyed me. Xiao Wu's 8 dan throw knocked him so hard, Izuku only felt dizzy. The 4th soul skill, the 8 armor formation, Yi. Izuku didn't even show his head, and real phantoms flew out from the tortoise shells, standing in 8 directions, and one person surrounded everyone. Little San, restrain him. Seeing this scene, Hu Jiu's eyes narrowed, and the hammering method with the cloak in his hand, paused for a moment, and the next moment he came to the tortoise shell closest to him point at the same time. Tang San's 3rd spirit ability, venomous spiderweb, quickly shot out from his hand, like a spider preying on it, entangling the 8 tortoise shells from Izuku's equinox. Meteor hammer, come out. Hu Jiu raised his body high, the meteor hammer chain in his hand stretched straight, and the strength containing more than 10,000 pounds suddenly exploded. Boom. With this hammer down, the hard tortoise shell was instantly smashed by him, and the tortoise shell fragments scattered, turning into light spots and dissipating around. Damn it, tortoise shell, turn me around. At this time, Izuku's attack also arrived. The 7 tortoise shells surrounding the crowd spun rapidly. Tang San's poisonous spider web was cut off at once, and immediately, the tortoise shell spun at a faster speed like a golden wheel point quickly rammed into the crowd. Little San, it's up to you. Hu Jiu didn't move in the face of the rapidly hitting tortoise shell. He waved the meteor hammer in his hand, and the chaotic cloak hammer method was launched again. Okay, look at me. Tang San's eyes froze instantly, his pupils turned purple, and the purple devil pupils opened. Point roots of blue silver grass jumped out from his body and quickly wrapped around everyone present, holding them high in the air, facing the impact of the tortoise shell alone. Point ghost shadows. Tang San's figure was like a phantom, dodging the tortoise shells attacking all around in an extremely thrilling moment. Point I was stunned that one person and a team successfully escaped Izuku's 8 armors in midair. Dame Yubei and Mahanjan were not idle. Beams of light and lines of fire kept spurting out. Point the two worked together, and the second tortoise shell was blown up. Point in particular, Mahanjan's phoenix line of fire was simply Izuku's nemesis. It was like a maggot attached to his bones. Every line of fire in the past burned him into unbearable pain. Hey, come again. The next moment, Hu Jiu disappeared instantly, caught up with a piece of tortoise shell, and hit the meteor hammer again. Point the 3rd tortoise shell, break it. At this moment, Tang San also showed his power. 2nd soul skill, parasite. Roots of blue silver grass suddenly protruded from the inside of the tortoise shell, entangled with each other, and the remaining 5 pieces of tortoise shell were entangled together, unable to move. Point there is also the poisonous poison of the poisonous spider web at this time, and the tortoise shell flashes with green light. Chance. The moment Tang San came down, Zhu Zuking and Xiao Wu jumped out. Sharp claws and hand knives brought after images, and cracks appeared on the tortoise shell, and they quickly expanded. Point at this time, Hu Jiu's cloak was no longer needed. He came to a piece of tortoise shell, and the meteor hammer in his hand was whistling. Point boom, 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 boom. The 4 tortoise shells exploded at the same time and dissipated. Hey, a group of people surrounds the last tortoise shell, like a pack of wolves rounding up a lamb. I surrender. I admit defeat. A weak voice came from the turtle shell. It's okay to admit defeat. Take back the martial spirit. Let's get angry and talk about it. Hu Jiu made a request. Then, you take it easy. Chapter 118. Shrek's 8 eccentrics. Catching Izuku, who had collected his martial spirit, was a fat beating. Point the beating was vigorous, and in the end, even the 7 Kanghu Academy students were not spared. Point Ning Rangrong, an auxiliary spirit master, sneaked in to join in the fun, and took the opportunity to kick a few times. On the other hand, Zhu Zuking, when the battle was over, silently backed away, and actually took the opportunity to start practicing. He really didn't miss any time. Okay, beating and beating. Everyone is wrong about this today, but we asked wrong, and you have been beaten. So don't blame us, blame your strength. I think, if you can't beat you, we may also have a fat beating. Hu Jiu stood in front of Yu with a flat tone point. It was not clear who was right and who was wrong. If it wasn't for the arrogance of Kanghu Academy's people, plus Damu Bei and Mahanjan's intentions to cause trouble, this fight would not have happened today. The strength is not as good as others, we admit it. Yu took a deep look at the Shrek 8 monsters, and waved to take the people from Kanghu Academy. To leave point, it's too embarrassing. He, a high-level Soul Master Academy teacher, was taught a lesson by a group of little boys. Moreover, he didn't remember, until now, that behind this group of students, is there no teacher's protection. Such a group of talented students will be valued, no matter where they are placed. It's a pity that they lost, even without the teacher coming forward. Point Yu guessed right. When the Shrek 8 monsters started to fight, 3 figures appeared on the second floor of the hotel, watching them secretly. Haha, these little bastards know how to cause trouble. It seems that they are still too energetic. When this soul hunting operation is over, I will give them a special training in person. Zhao Waoqi looked at Hu Jiu and others on the street with satisfaction. People, but they are complaining. Don't be afraid to cause trouble. What you are afraid of is to provoke people you shouldn't. Flender took it for granted. After all, he said the sentence, that dare not cause trouble is mediocrity. Point you can't punch yourself in the face. Point. But thinking of that domineering figure that night, Flender felt a dull pain in his body again. Point aside. Grandmaster looked at Hu Jiu and the others below in disbelief. Point originally, he wanted Tang San to be the core of Shrek's team, but now it seemed that this was impossible. Point because Hu Jiu had already subdued Shrek. Who, ninth brother. As soon as Damu Bei opened his mouth, Hu Jiu's eyes swept over immediately, making him hurriedly change his words. How? Well, can you not call me Xiao Bei? You can just call me Beihu. Damu Bei said with a bitter face. Yes, yes, ninth brother, I'm not a horse, I'm Phoenix, you can call me Phoenix too. Mahanjan also said with a smile. Point behind him, Zhu King rolled his eyelids, and resisted the name of the kitten. I don't like it. That's fine. The name is set like this. You can change it if you want, as long as you beat my fist. Hu Jiu laughed. Xiao Bei, Xiao Ma, I'm very dissatisfied with your performance today. When you go back, I will let you know what it means to be humble and low-key. Hu Jiu's words caused Damu Bei and Mahanjan to shudder. Ever since he practiced King Kong, Hu Jiu has become more and more violent. He often beats them in the name of competition, more than teacher Zhao Wuji beats. Both are ruthless. No, brother Jiu, I was wrong. I don't dare anymore. Mahanjan shouted, hugging Hu Jiu's thigh, and crying and admitting his mistake. It's too late. Hu Jiu kicked the fat man away, and took the lead back to the hotel. Point at the dinner table. Point Hu Jiu looked at the neat Shrek 7 devils, tapped the bowl and chopsticks and said, the dean said that our Shrek students are a whole and a team. I think what he said is right. So, a team has to have a leading voice, and I think he's talking about me. Of course, you can also raise objections, but you can think about the consequences. Hu Jiu first glanced at Damu Bei and Oscar, waiting for their responses. I think it's suitable for brother ninth to be the boss, and I support it. Oscar stretched out his right hand and raised it high. When he came, the chicken thief asked, that is, can brother ninth be cheaper? Well, let's see how you behave. Hu Jiu turned his head and looked at Damu Bei. I agree. It makes sense that the strongest one should be the boss. Damu Bei lowered his head slightly. This day finally came. Point. After dealing with the two most difficult people, Hu Jiu looked at Zhu King again. Point. Zhu King nodded lightly, expressing an indifferent attitude towards this. Then there was Ning Rangrong. Why should you have the final say? I still want to be the eldest sister. Ning Rangrong said, unconvinced. Haha, let's think about it. Don't you forget why our level has risen so quickly? Hu Jiu asked back. Point. At this time, Xiao Wu approached Ning Rangrong and whispered in her ear, then I also recognize you as the boss. Ning Rong Grong glanced at Hu Jiu in surprise and instantly became obedient. Very good. Then I announce that it is time to eat now. Let's start. Hu Jiu smiled with satisfaction and began to use the authority of the boss. Yes, boss. Xiao Wu smiled and couldn't wait to start taking action. What, little San, do you want me to give you the position of the boss? Hu Jiu patted Tang San on the shoulder and asked with a smile. No, you can do what I'm the boss. Tang San shook his head quickly. He didn't have the strength of Hu Jiu, nor the carrot to speed up his cultivation, let alone Daimyo Bei. I'm afraid even Xiao Wu wouldn't agree. Ninth. Brother, you are the boss. Who is the second one? Mahanjan asked while nibbling on the chicken leg. There is no second child, except for the boss. All of you are younger brothers. Hu Jiu doesn't care about this. If there is a ranking, then the third is still the third, and the little dance is the fifth. Everyone, feelings. You just want to ride on our heads alone. After dinner, each of them disbanded, went shopping, and practiced point after Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu had a good time, and returned to the hotel. Ning Rong Grong came to the door. Here, this is the distraction control you want. Where is my spiral pill? Ning Rong Grong handed over a copy of the manual and asked Hu Jiu. What? I owe this first. I forgot. Hu Jiu touched his head and went to play with Xiao Wu, not even doing serious business. You, forget it. Then give me a few carrots for your cultivation. Ning Rong Grong looked at Hu Jiu angrily, but then she thought of something, so she endured it. There is this one. Remember, 100 gold soul coins. Hu Jiu took out a handful of carrots and said, if you want a few, take it yourself. I knew I wanted money. I didn't even ask for money for your assistance. Ning Rong Grong gave him an angry look. She has a lot of money, but she just doesn't care about Hu Jiu's profiteer's face. Then, I don't use your support ability either. Hu Jiu shrugged. Ning Rong Grong's support was useless to him for the time being. Ning Rong Grong took 2 deep breaths and hurriedly left with the carrot. She was afraid that she would be mad if she stayed here any longer. Chapter 119 SHREK and -039 S Soul Hunting Action. Tonight, Hu Jiu's room was a bit lively. Ning Rong Grong had just left when the kitten came again. Meow. As soon as the door was opened, ZHU's soft and glutinous voice sounded like a kitten asking for food. This little hobby of Hu Jiu. The kitten has already figured it out. No way. Have you finished eating the carrots so soon? Hu Jiu asked in surprise. ZHU's Yuking was a little embarrassed. She lowered her head and explained, I practice more diligently, and I wasted some time. Hu Jiu thought of the kitten who didn't forget to practice even during the fight, and instantly realized that she was different from Daimyo Bei, Mahanjan and the others. She was a ruthless person who cultivated with her life. The few carrots she gave were not enough for her at all. With a wave of his hand, Hu Jiu took out a few carrots and handed them over. It's alright, as long as you need them. I have enough carrots. I'm just too kind. I don't see other people working hard. See you. Just wanted to help. Hu Jiu shook his head and sighed. ZHU's Yuking blinked his eyes suspiciously. I'm mistaken. He's not a man with a special hobby. Meow. Hey. Hu Jiu narrowed his eyes and really felt the numbness all over his body. Hechu. Early the next morning, Hu Jiu rubbed his eyes and rolled over to get up. Before getting up, he looked at the 11th skill on hook position in the on hook panel with satisfaction. Above, the distraction control skill is flashing faintly, indicating that the transparent aperture of the progress bar is slowly rising. After seeing the distraction control that Ning Rong Grong gave him, Hu Jiu discovered that there are actually 9 levels of distraction control, namely, the mind of using 1 orifice, the mind of 2 orifices, the mind of 3 orifices, and the mind of 4 orifices. Perseverance. Heart. 5 orifices loose heart, 6 orifices wishful heart, 7 orifices exquisite heart, 8 orifices earth heart, 9 orifices heaven heart. With so many names, the level converted into an on hook panel is from level 1 to level 9. As for level 10, it depends on how the panel is handled. To put it simply, the first level is to concentrate scattered thoughts and make people more focused and single-minded. The second level is differentiated thinking, distraction and dual use, and so on for the subsequent levels going out and going downstairs. I happened to meet Tang San walking in from outside the hotel. Little San, have you gone out to practice again? Well, my physical fitness is not as strong as yours. Get up early to exercise. Tang San said modestly. Well, not bad. Continue to work hard and strive to surpass Xiao Bei in the rank as soon as possible. Hu Jiu did not expose his trick, but encouraged him with a smile. Currently, he was at level 37 and Xiao Bei was at level 38, but Tang San was more diligent than Xiao Bei and had more time to practice than him. It wouldn't take long for him to catch up with Xiao Bei. Well, I'll try my best. Tang San smiled and nodded. In fact, his goal was to surpass Hu Jiu, but Hu Jiu's cultivation speed was too fast, so he couldn't catch up. So first set a small goal to surpass Xiao Bei. Haha, little 3, it's impossible to surpass me. I'm almost at level 39th. You can chase after me slowly. At this moment, Xiao Bei's laughter came from upstairs. Boss, I forgot to tell you, I'm almost at the 38th level. Tang San smiled proudly. In terms of cultivation speed, Tang San is not afraid of anyone except the monster Xiao Jiu. Haha, Boss Day is deflated. The third brother wakes up every day to practice before dawn. Sooner or later, he will surpass you. How can you compare? Mahanjan also came to the first floor and despised Xiao Bei. Zhu Zuking looked at them indifferently. In terms of cultivation effort, who could compare to her ghostly night owl? If it weren't for her talent, she dared to say that all the people sitting here would be rubbish. Okay, since everyone is up, let's have something to eat and go and try to complete the third spirit ring of Hanjun and Xiao today. At this time, Flender brought Xiao Walki and Grandmaster downstairs as well. Everyone simply finished their breakfast and walked all the way to the Great Stardow Forest. On the way, in order to hurry, Flender ignored the master's resistance and pinched him under his arm like an eagle grabbing a chicken. Xiao Jiu, I'll just say it will be like this. Xiao Wu smiled and touched Hu Jiu's arm, watching this scene with a smile. Well, don't laugh, everyone. The master's strength is relatively low. In order not to delay everyone's schedule, he also made sacrifices. Hu Jiu held back his smile and comforted everyone. An hour later, the group had entered the vicinity of the Stardow Great Forest. Little San, take out your sachet. There are a lot of poisonous insects here. As the boss, Hu Jiu began to exercise power again. Okay. Tang San nodded, wiped his waist, and a bunch of small bags appeared in his hands, which were distributed to everyone in turn. These are called insect repellent bags, not incense bags. It's all the same. It's all the same. Hu Jiu waved his hand, took the sachet, and hung it on his waist skillfully. The others followed suit and put the sachet on their body. Ninth brother, it's up to you. The third brother said that you can sense the breath of spirit beasts far away, so you are the best at finding spirit beasts. At this moment, Mahanjan leaned over with a smile. Beside him, Oscar also looked over with a look of hope. A suitable soul beast. This is related to their lives. Yes, but you all have to tell me what kind of soul beasts I need. By the way, there are also the characteristics of soul beasts. Hu Jiu said. How could Mahanjan think of this? He used to hunt for spirit rings to find something. Xiao gang, it's your turn to appear. Flender patted the master on the shoulder and encouraged. According to my research, the limit life of a soul master's third spirit ring is 1760 years, and for Mahanjan's phoenix spirit, it is best to find a spirit beast with a bloodline of the phoenix, so that he can control his spirit. It produces a benign effect, and maybe it can alleviate his martial soul defect. The master glanced at everyone and said slowly, what about mine, master? Oscar asked. You have a slightly wider range of spirit ring choices. You already have recovery and detoxification. Next, you can choose the effect of a blessing spirit ring, such as strength, speed, defense, etc. The master said, after thinking about it. Then, What kind of soul beast is suitable for them? Let's talk about it first, so as not to miss it. Hu Jiu reminded point no matter what, Hu Jiu still believed in the master when it came to the knowledge of spirit beasts. After all, after studying the theoretical knowledge of spirit masters for so many years, even a pig was a pig with knowledge. The phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake can be used by Oscar and Mahanjan. There are also flamingus, three-legged red flame beasts, flame unicorns. These Mahanjan can use pink, empress, Kyanjan and emperor, spotted fox, iron-armored beast, lin-armored beast. These soul beasts contain various attributes of speed, strength, and defense. Let's see what you encounter first. The names of the masters collapsed one by one. At this moment, his body seemed to be filled with the light of knowledge point. In order to set off the anger, the master is habitually carrying his hands on his back, and his waist is straight. If he lends Flender's glasses to the master, he will be a complete scholar of wisdom. Thank you Kung Shu God. Sakura award. Thanks chapter 120 Master 039 S mind. Okay, then I'll look for it. After listening to the master's introduction, Hu Jiu nodded, indicating that he heard it. However, he has his own plans for this trip. Since the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake is also applicable to Mahanjan, then Mahanjan can be given priority. After all, in terms of closeness, Mahanjan has a slightly higher status in his heart. That phoenix-tailed coxcomb can fly again, it's fast, and it has the bloodline of the phoenix, so there's no reason not to give it to the pony. If you give Oscar, adding only one flying ability is simply a waste. Squinting, Hu Jiu fully activated the 5 sense enhancement technique, maximized his perception ability, and slowly walked into the depths of the Stardao Great Forest. It looks like he is looking for it with all his strength, but in fact Hu Jiu is also paddling. After all, the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake is not to be missed. What if you go too fast and miss the time? After touching the fish for a long time, at noon, Flender spoke, "Everyone, take a rest first." When everyone heard the words, they immediately found an open space to relax. Zao. Ayo, donate your sausages. I'll bring you some carrots. Fill them up first, and then talk alone. Hu Jiu said, okay. Oscar happily agreed, and immediately began to chant, and after a while, he made a lot of delicious sausages, but the sausages didn't move. Instead, they looked at the pile of carrots in front of Hu Jiu. Zhao Wu was more direct. Zhao Jiu, I want to eat carrots. I want to lose weight, and I'm also a vegetarian. Ning Gran followed closely. Zhu Zuking silently picked up 2 carrots, and ate them straight away. Eat it all. Oscar's sausages are also delicious. Hu Jiu smiled and looked at Oscar's stiff face. Zhao. Ayo, I think so. When you make sausages in the future, don't recite the spell in front of us. It's better not to let us know the spell, or you'll be frustrated. I'm not as capable as you. I can use soul skills without chanting a spell. Oscar said in a loss. Okay, don't put on such a bitter face. When you have time, I will teach you a soul skill, but you can't give it for nothing. You have to give me a soul skill in the future. Hu Jiu was rarely generous. After all, he has been accepted as a younger brother, and it is not the way to keep pressing like this. Thank you, brother Jiu. Don't worry, I will definitely give you a better soul skill in the future. Oscar was overjoyed when he heard it. The most annoying thing in his life is his own soul spell. If Hu Jiu can solve this problem, that is his benefactor. Well, thank you. You don't have to be obedient in the future. Don't think about some things. Hu Jiu said with a smile. Replacing an obedient younger brother with a less practical soul power control is not a bad deal. Understood. 9th brother, don't worry, I won't rob you. Oscar said with a smile on his face. What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? This was when everyone was thinking about what Oscar had robbed of Hu Jiu. Zhao Wuji suddenly stood up with a dignified expression. Get up, something is approaching. Hu Jiu's thoughts moved, and he began to feel it instantly. After a breath, a surprised smile appeared on his face. Pony, get ready. The soul beast you want is here. What kind of soul beast is here? The master asked. The Phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake has a cultivation base of about 1,600 years. Hu Jiu said. Then, I think it's more appropriate to give Oscar. If you give it to him, you should be able to get the spirit ring skill with flying effect, which will help all of you. The master said immediately. Grandmaster's words made Oscar happy, but then he looked at Hu Jiu and Mahanjan again, his face a little embarrassed. You fart. It's obviously more suitable for Mahanjan. Why don't you say what effect Mahanjan will have after getting this spirit ring? Hu Jiu yelled in anger when he saw the master coming out to make trouble at this time. Mahanjan suddenly turned his head to look at the master. His eyes were full of anger. Although he didn't know what Brother 9 meant, he knew that he seemed to be more suitable for this soul beast than Oscar. I'm thinking about your entire team. If Oscar gets this spirit ring, the whole team will benefit, while Mahanjan getting the spirit ring alone won't help the whole team much. A trace of anger flashed in Grandmaster's eyes, and he said confidently, then, you take the team factor out of the way, so who is more suitable between Mahanjan and Oscar? Hu Jiu asked lightly. Hu Jiu's words made the master silent for a while, and the atmosphere at the scene suddenly became tense. Okay, don't talk about it, it's already here. This is. Flender stood up to interrupt everyone. As soon as the voice fell, a 7 or 8 meter long phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake quickly flew towards everyone along the trunk. Drink, let me down. Flender stretched out his hand, and white air blades about 1 meter long appeared in front of him. The next moment, they all shot at the phoenix-tailed coxcomb in midair. Thump. The 78th level soul saint made a shot, and how could the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake, which has not arrived in 2,000 years, be able to resist? With just one move, it was beaten to half death, and fell to the ground. Looking at the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake on the ground, Mahanjan and Oscar looked at each other, and fell silent for a while. The spirit ring of this spirit beast was suitable for both of them, and neither of them was embarrassed to export it first. Xiao gang, tell me, if Hanjan and Xiao kill this spirit beast, what kind of spirit ring effect will they get? At the critical moment, it was Flender who stood up. Hanjan should be able to fly at a low altitude after absorbing it. He probably has an attacking spirit skill, and perhaps his martial spirit can also gain some growth. The master said uncertainly. What about Oscar? Flender was silent for a while. Mahanjan was his direct disciple, so he had to change the subject, because some words were not suitable for him to say at this time. If Oscar absorbs this spirit ring, he can get a flying effect spirit ring skill. From the perspective of the team, I still recommend that Oscar absorb it. This explanation made everyone look at the master's eyes slowly and gradually became wrong. It was clear that Mahanjan had absorbed more profit points. So why does the master do this? It doesn't seem to do him any good. No. The next moment, a smart person reacted and glanced quietly at the figure, who had not spoken. Fatty, go ahead. Your soul beast is hard to find. I'm not in a hurry. There is 9th brother here. I believe he will help me find a suitable soul ring. Oscar smiled relievedly and said to Mahanjan candidly, good, buddy. Mahanjan stepped forward and hugged Oscar excitedly, without saying a word of rejection. He is not a hypocritical person. Some things, just keep in mind. Just as Mahanjan walked in front of the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake, and was about to start, a hoarse shout suddenly came from a distance. Stop, immediately. Afterwards, 2 figures quickly jumped out from the direction from which the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake came. Everyone looked closely, one old and one young, all women. The old one was 60 or 70 years old, and his white hair was neatly combed. Although he was not young, he was very energetic. A pair of eyes gleamed, and in his right hand he held a 3-meter long snakehead crutch, and his 6 spirit rings slowly rhythmically moved. Chao Xiang came. Chapter 121. Find a daughter-in-law for Mahanjan. Next to Chao Xiang stood a beautiful girl. With short hair, she looked 15 or 16 years old, about the same age as Damu Bei, and she was wrapped tightly in a purple dress, which clearly highlighted her proud figure. Maybe it was because of the martial spirit. The small waist that Ying held was even more eye-catching. The eyes of Damu Bei, Mahanjan, and Oscar were completely attracted to her at this time. Among them, Mahanjan was the most exaggerated, and his saliva was drooling. She is Chao Xiangxiang's granddaughter Meng still. But at this time, Meng still didn't look very good. Anyone who saw his soul beast falling into someone else's hands would not look good. This girl is very suitable for Fatty. Hu Jiu secretly said, after scrutinizing for a while. Snakes are inherently lewd, and because of his martial spirit, Mahanjan has nowhere to release the evil fire. If the two are together, it is a match made in heaven when dry wood meets fire. As for the future Miss Bai Chengxiang, let's forget it. That woman can't get down on her pony. Pony, come here. Hu Jiu beckoned to Mahanjan. Brother, Jiu, what's wrong? Mahanjan glanced at Meng Yiren reluctantly, then ran to Hu Jiu and asked, how are you satisfied with this girl? I'm satisfied. I'm so satisfied. Look at that little waist. TSK. If I can get her, even if my life is reduced by 10 years, I'm willing. Mahanjan said excitedly, his eyes involuntarily placed on Meng's still standing proudly place. Very impolite, that's good. We'll see what you can do later, and I'll match you up. Hu Jiu narrowed his eyes and said to Mahanjan. I remember that Chao Xiangxiang and Meng were still in the original book, and because they were very satisfied with Tang San's strength, they wanted to take the initiative to post it backwards. At that time, Tang San had not broken through the 30th level, only 29th. Now replacing this person with a fat man must be equally feasible. Is this possible? Brother 9th, I still know what I'll look like. For a beauty of this level, if you don't have the carrot of your change, people wouldn't want to give me a second look. Mahanjan was overjoyed at first, then lowered his head. He looked at his belly in dismay. With his fat body and his ordinary appearance, only he knows how difficult it is to find a beautiful daughter-in-law. Oh, in this world, looks don't mean everything. Sometimes, strength is the most important thing. No matter how ugly you are, as long as your strength is in place, you don't have to worry about a beautiful daughter-in-law. Hu Jiu said lightly. Fatty is quite good, his martial arts talent is good, and his strength is not bad. The key is that he is still young. As long as he has a vision, he will not refuse. Here, Chao Xiangxiang and Zhao Wuji have already reported their names. Chao Xiangxiang cautiously glanced at Flender and Grandmaster behind Zhao Wuji. To be able to walk with Zhao Wuji, no matter how bad the strength is, it can't be much worse. Not to mention, it is also at the Soul Saint level. I don't know, what do you call these two? Chao Xiangxiang decided to be cautious. After all, her Duke Long is not around now. If they are besieged by 3 people, it is hard to say whether she and her granddaughter can escape today. Haha, let me introduce to eldest sister Chao. This is Ardeen Flender, the Spirit Owl, the 78th level agility type battle spirit saint. Zhao Wuji pointed at Flender, who had a serious face, and then pointed to the master with his hands on his back and exuding a high level temperament. The chicken thief did not say his name. This is also a teacher from our college, but he is lonely, so I won't introduce his name. Grandmaster, I am a master. I'm very famous. Why not introduce it? Oh, it turned out to be the famous Dean Flender, and the old man is here to greet you. Chao Xiangxiang's heart sank after hearing Zhao Wuji's introduction. Rant, there is also a teacher who does not know the depths. I'm afraid that this phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake can't be imagined. It's easy to say. The snake mother wants this phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake. It's not easy to handle. Flender glanced at Chao Xiangxiang lightly, wanting to grab food from him. You probably haven't heard of Stingy Rand's name. What's wrong? This phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake was the first to be discovered by us, but it was snatched by you. Hurry up and return it to us, otherwise you are welcome. Meng still held the snake-headed crutch in his hand, and once he looked arrogantly at Flender and the others. Meng is still not afraid of the sky and the earth. Her grandfather is at the level of Soul Douluo, and the 3 little soul saints are not afraid at all. What did you find? Do you have any evidence? Oscar couldn't help standing up and said at this time, don't worry, young man. Look at the underside of this phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake's abdomen. There are 2 scars there. They were hit by the old man with crutches. My granddaughter just reached level 30 and needs its spirit ring very much. I hope you seniors let's give in. Chao Xiangxiang smiled. But we also need this spirit ring very much, and we still need both. Oscar retorted. He finally made up his mind to give it to Fatty. How could someone else get it? What? Chao Xiangxiang was startled, and only then did she remember that it seemed like a fat man killed the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake just now. But at that time, because of the eagerness in her heart, she didn't think much about it. Attracted. This figure seems to be 12 or 13 years old. Could it be that he is already level 30? Haha, it seems that eldest sister Chao doesn't quite believe it. Little brats, let this senior snake mother take a look at the bright soul ring. Hu Jiu laughed and said to Hu Jiu and the others in a showy manner, hey, it's no wonder that the teacher was chased and killed by the spirit all before. How can such a stinky temperament not offend anyone? Hu Jiu sighed silently. Afterwards, the transforming spirit ability was activated, and the spirit power override was activated, and 3 spirit rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, appeared under his feet, and not even the martial spirit carrot appeared. No way. His 4 spirit rings are all purple now, and if they are exposed, they are afraid of being robbed and become a son-in-law. With Zhao Walqi's order, everyone began to reveal their spirit rings. Yu Bei, Tang San, Zhao Wu, and Hu Jiu. All 4 of them had the best spirit ring configuration. The 3 spirit rings, 2 yellow and 1 purple, blinded Chao Xiangxiang's eyes. There are also Oscar, Mahangjin, Zhu Zuking, and Ningrangrang. These are not bad. They are all 2 yellow spirit rings. It's just that Tang San and Ningrangrang didn't reveal their martial spirits. They hid like Hu Jiu. How is this possible? Chao Xiangxiang looked at the pile of spirit rings in front of her in shock and couldn't believe it. Meng still beside him was even more unbearable, looking like he was stunned and doubted his life. The age of the Shrek 8 monsters is easy to tell. Except for Yu Bei and Oscar, who looked a little older, but definitely not as big as her granddaughter. The rest were all 12 or 13-year-olds. How could they not be shocked? Seeing Chao Xiangxiang's shocked expression, Zhao Walqi's heart sank for a while, and he said with a naive smile, eldest sister Chao, may my students come into your eyes. Chao Xiangxiang took a deep breath and stabilized her mind. Pai Xiaorao said without a smile, of course, as expected of a disciple of King Fu Doming, but I don't know which of them needs a spirit ring. Chapter 122. Hearing Chao Xiangxiang's question, Mahangjin and Oscar stood up on the spot. It's our 2 brothers. Looking at the 2 yellow spirit rings at the feet of Mahangjin and Oscar, Chao Xiangxiang's heart sank. In the spirit master world, it is not easy to find a suitable spirit ring. Now that there are 2 at once, it is even more impossible for others to give it to her. What's more, this person is Zhao Walqi. Don't look at Zhao Walqi's naive appearance, but his reputation is not very good, and the reputation of King Fuming was created by him. Thinking of this, Chao Xiangxiang was silent for a while. Then she thought about it, raised her head, and said to Zhao Wuji, since we all want this phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake, then why don't we just follow the rules of the Soul Master World? The rules of the Soul Master World? Zhao Walqi looked back at Flender in confusion. He was a wild Soul Master, but he didn't know the rules of the Soul Master World. Does she want them to use their strength to decide the outcome? Flender said lightly. Chao Xiangxiang squeezed out a smile, nodded and said, yes, since we all don't want to give up this phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake, let's do our best. Let my granddaughter and your students decide. Whoever wins, who is the soul beast of. Okay, we agreed. I'll fight her. Hearing this, Mahangjin instantly thought of the opportunity that brother Jiu had just mentioned. His Phoenix martial spirit is a top level martial spirit, while Meng still has only a high level martial spirit. There is no reason to beat him. Exactly. You can also show off your strength in front of beautiful women. Seeing Mahangjin stand up, Meng still did not lag behind and stood up with a snake stick. When Meng still approached, Mahangjin could really see her beauty clearly. After all, Meng still is already 16 years old. At this age, it is just at the stage of fading away the greenness, and the perfectly developed body is slightly worse than Zhao Wu and others before the murder. It was full, plump and round, and the slender waist was twisted like a snake. The saliva of Mahangjin, who was watching from a close distance, could not help flowing down. Meng. Still, Wuhan Snake Stick, 30th second ring battle spirit master. Meng still introduced with a cold face, disdain for Ma Hangjin's pig-like appearance. Ma Hangjin, martial spirit phoenix, level 32nd ring battle spirit master. Ma Hangjin raised his head and introduced proudly. His martial arts are top notch, and he naturally has the capital to be proud of. Seeing Meng Yiren's disgusted eyes, his self-esteem suddenly burst out. It's just a woman. I have the transformation carrot of the 9th brother, and those who are prettier than her are all tried it. What a great thing. Phoenix. Martial spirit. Chao Xiangxiang's eyes flashed with shock upon hearing Ma Hangjin's introduction, but then she looked at this ordinary looking fat man thoughtfully. The more I look at it, the more satisfied I become. Although I'm a little younger, this is not a problem. It would be better if we can match him and his granddaughter. This is a top level martial arts. Maybe his own martial arts bloodline will change because of this. Hu Jiu, who had been paying attention to Chao Xiangxiang's eyes, was overjoyed. It seemed that his daughter-in-law was in trouble. Hey, the boss of me still has to arrange a daughter-in-law for my younger brother. I'm too worried. Shaking his head, Hu Jiu sighed to himself. Phoenix. Bathing in flames. Ma Hangjin would not be polite to Meng. The second spirit ring was the first to light up, covering his entire body with red flames. A terrifying heat wave that even scorched the surrounding air. Humph. Meng still snorted coldly, raised the snake stick in his hand. The first spirit ring lit up, and from the snake's head, a tongue blade was spit out, and the tongue blade was glowing with green light, obviously containing highly poisonous Phoenix line of fire. With the blessing of the second spirit ring skill, Ma Hangjin's Phoenix line of fire became even more violent. A crimson line of fire spewed out of his mouth, and in just an instant, the blade of Meng Yan's tongue was dissipated, and then it shot at Meng Yan with castration. Ah, how could this be? Meng Yan was still shocked. The second spirit ring lit up, and his body was like a soft snake dodging Ma Hangjin's Phoenix line of fire point. But Ma Hangjin's Phoenix line of fire is so easy to hide. Meng still accidentally. The skirt and skirt were instantly stained with flames, and it began to burn, spreading towards her body. Ah. Being caught in the flames, Meng still felt a little flustered in his movements. Ma Hangjin seized the opportunity without showing any spirit of pity for Xiangxiu, and when he turned his mouth, the Phoenix line of fire was like a flamethrower, all sprayed onto Meng Yiren. At the critical moment, Hu Jiu teleported, flipped his wrist, and a thick meteor hammer appeared, instantly blocking Ma Hangjin's Phoenix line of fire. Fat man, be gentle with girls. Brother 9th, I forgot. Ma Hangjin scratched his head naively and said embarrassedly, we lost this battle, and the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake is yours. Chao Xiangxiang glanced at Hu Jiu in surprise, and nodded to him to express her gratitude. Hu Jiu panicked. This old woman would not want him to be her grandson-in-law. Fufu. Meng Wang, we will not change the green mountains. The green water will continue to flow, and there will be a future. Chao Xiangxiang stepped forward and pulled Meng Yang iron and let go of his harsh words to Zhao Waoqi and the others. Although this battle was lost, the loser did not lose the battle, and the ruthless words had to be released. Otherwise, what would be the prestige of the unparalleled dragon and snake? Senior snake, wait. Hu Jiu hurriedly stopped when he heard Chao Xiangxiang was leaving. What, don't you want to let the old man stay? Chao Xiangxiang's face sank, and her face was very ugly. Zhao Wuji and the others also looked at Hu Jiu suspiciously, not understanding what he was trying to do. Senior snake woman has misunderstood. The boy congratulates the senior. Hu Jiu said with a smile. What kind of joy? The soul beasts are all given to you. Are you not entertaining your old age? Chao Xiangxiang asked with a sullen face. Hu Jiu smiled lightly, pulled Ma Hangjin over, and said to Chao Xiangxiang, you have also seen my brother's talent. A 12-year-old 30th level battle spirit master will soon be a spirit master, and his spirit is still a top level spirit phoenix. As for him, it can be said that he fell in love with this girl Meng at first sight. I'm his boss, so I have the cheek to ask for a kiss for him. Although my brother looks a little ordinary, he is honest, and he is a good grandson-in-law. Bastard, what are you talking about? Hu Jiu's words not only stunned everyone in Shrek, but even Meng still didn't expect him to say such a thing. Point this time, she was embarrassed and angry, turned her head, took Chao Xiangxiang's arm and kept shaking. Grandma, you have to decide for me. They bully me. It's nothing. A slender lady, a gentleman is a good man. Chao Xiangxiang patted Meng Yiren's arm and comforted. She was in a hurry. She was still trying to make this little fat man her grandson-in-law just now. It's just that seeing that fatty had just beat up his granddaughter, he was embarrassed to speak. Grandma. Meng still looked at Chao Xiangxiang with dissatisfaction, and he was almost burned by that dead fat man just now. Well, young man, I don't have any opinion on this, but I don't care about this matter, and I need my old man to nod. Otherwise, I will go back and discuss with the old man. You can leave me an address, and so on. We will go to your academy to find you when there is a result. Chao Xiangxiang said with a kind face. Thank you for not forgetting the original intention. The Sky and Douluo, Luo Enzo, Yan Fei 233 for the reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Little San, Iron-039, sorry. Okay, we welcome you on behalf of all Shrek staff. Flender was also full of smiles at this time. Ma Hongzhen's evil fire has always been a problem in his heart. It would be better if there was a lecherous snake to neutralize it. Moreover, the unparalleled dragon snake is not an unknown person, and it would be better to make his direct disciples marry their granddaughters next. The two sides had a pleasant exchange. After getting Shrek's address, Chao Xiangxiang was satisfied and left with Meng still. Wow, fatty, your bliss is coming. The old snake woman didn't refuse. I think it's probably safe. After the others left, Oscar came to Ma Hongzhen enviously and exclaimed in admiration, "Hey, this uncle is also a genius with top martial arts. Isn't it easy to find a wife?" Ma Hongzhen said triumphantly. "Heh, I didn't know who it was just now. I didn't even dare to say a word when I stood by. If it wasn't for Xiao Jiu's help, would you be able to have it now?" Xiao Wu gave Fatty a disdainful look and sneered. "Hey, of course I won't forget the great kindness of Brother 9. Fatty said with a smile. "Okay, don't patronize and be happy. The 8 characters haven't been written yet, but you should really thank Xiao Jiu." Flender laughed. "Fatty, Yi Changmeng has a lot of dreams. Hurry up and absorb your spirit ring." Hu Jiu pushed Ma Hongzhen, telling him to get down to business. "Okay." Ma Hongzhen came to the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake, took out a dagger, and slashed it, ending its life. This time, there was no accident. An hour later, Ma Hongzhen absorbed the spirit ring of the phoenix-tailed coxcomb snake very smoothly. At the moment when it was over, a powerful aura emerged from Ma Hongzhen, and flaming flames emerged from him. A pair of illusory phoenix wings reborn in the fire. Ma Hongzhen let out a long whistle, stomped his feet, and his body instantly came into the air, as if there was an invisible force that kept him in the air. The third spirit ring skill, Roaring Fire. Fatty pointed his finger at the ground in front of everyone, and a flame formed like a giant dragon spiraled out, like a grinding disc, strangling and shattering the surrounding 5 meters. After the flames passed, a dark circular pothole appeared in front of everyone. The scorched ground was filled with thick black smoke, which took a long time to disperse. "Hey, Fatty, you've developed," Oscar shouted in shock, and a look of envy flashed in his eyes. If this soul skill hit him, he would be seriously injured, even if he didn't die. Thank you brother for letting me go. I'll take note of this kindness." Ma Hongzhen landed leisurely, looking at Oscar and Hu Jiu with gratitude. In addition, in his heart, he had a strong disgust for the master. Because of him, he almost missed such a good spirit ring. "It seems that this spirit ring has a great effect on you, and even the phoenix wings have appeared." Flender sighed and glanced at the master with a deep meaning. "Xiao gang, I haven't seen you for so many years. You have changed. Maybe I never saw you clearly. Haha, my third spirit ring skill is called Fire Roar. You have seen the power just now. It is a powerful attacking soul skill, and the spirit power level has also been raised to the 31st level. The key is that I can fly. Hahaha. Okay, don't be complacent. Zhao Wuji stood up. It's getting late. We have to find someone to fix it. The Stardao Great Forest is not safe at night. Teacher, I know that there is a good place in front of me, which is suitable for the night. Hu Jiu said, quickly point the so-called good places. Of course, the direction from which the phoenix-tailed coxcomb came. Mahanjan already had his spirit ring, and he was going to plan for another matter. It's just, Little San, I'm sorry, Brother Jiu. I'm an auxiliary spirit master, and I'm very lacking in attack methods, so I will treat you well in the future. Looking sideways, Tang San was wandering in the sky at this time. What the master did just now made him very embarrassed. Although he knew it was for himself, he knew that he did something wrong in this matter. Under the leadership of Hu Jiu, the group went to another place other than the strength to repair. Night is coming. Hu Jiu, who was lying in the tent, suddenly changed his expression. The teleportation skill was activated, and he quietly appeared in the forest 100 meters away, and then a few flashes disappeared in the distance. At the same time, Zhao Wu's figure also appeared, chasing in the direction Hu Jiu left. 3 miles away. Haha, Erming, long time no see, how are you and damning? Hu Jiu smiled and greeted the huge figure in front of him. Zhao. Jiu, why didn't you wait for me? At this moment, Zhao Wu's complaining voice came over. Ho. The Titan giant ape opened its mouth wide and whimpered in a low voice, explaining it to Hu Jiu with a slap in the face, looking very happy. I knew that you must have run out of carrots, otherwise you wouldn't be able to wait. Zhao Wu said with a smile, looking at Erming. Haha, that proves that my carrots work well. Hu Jiu took a few steps back, wiped his wrist, and a lot of carrots appeared in the open space. Ming, take the storage ring I gave you, and put it back. This time we can't leave for too long. I'll see you and Daming, and Xiao Bei, when I have time later. Over the past year, Hu Jiu and Zhao Wu have been to the Stardao Great Forest many times, and they have given them a lot of cultivation carrots. The familiarity stage has been skipped between them. Yes, go back quickly, you disobedient Erming. Next time I must let Daming teach you a good lesson. Zhao Wu said angrily. She had told Erming before that he should not take the initiative to come to them, but she didn't expect Erming to come again this time. Raw. Erming stretched out his hand and grabbed it, and the carrot in front of Hu Jiu disappeared instantly. Then he flickered a few times, and his figure disappeared into the darkness. Early the next morning, Hu Jiu and the others continued to search for the soul beast, but unfortunately, under Hu Jiu's intentional leadership, they failed to find the soul beast Oscar needed for 2 consecutive days. As the evening approached, Hu Jiu's face flashed a flash of ecstasy for a moment. He didn't care to talk to everyone, and several teleportation quickly disappeared in place. Come on, Zhao Jiu must have found something. Hu Jiu's departure made Zhao Wuji anxious, and he greeted everyone, and immediately chased in the direction where he disappeared. Follow me. Flender grabbed the master, and followed the direction Hu Jiu left. Behind Zhao Wu, Tang San, and the others also resolutely chased after them. Haha, seeing that Brother 9 is in such a hurry, have you found the soul beast I need? Oscar said with a look of surprise. Well, it's very possible. Damu Bei nodded, realizing that Oscar was running too slowly, grabbed the back of his neck, and lifted him up like Flender in such an emergency. Oscar didn't care about him, it was related to his spirit ring. It really is you. A mile away, Hu Jiu stared at the 5-meter spider in front of him. Then his eyes sharpened. Give me death. Chapter 124. Hu Jiu and -039, S8 spider lances. Death to me. Hu Jiu's eyes were bright, and a solid golden light shot straight out of his eyes. The light was like an invisible sword, piercing the spider's head like lightning. This is Hu Jiu's long hidden trump card, the head spirit bone left after Pink's sacrifice. Incidental skills. Mental shock. The 9th level mental shock nearly doubled Hu Jiu's mental strength, reaching 90%, and after the upgrade of the on-hook panel, the spirit bone of the head was forcibly lifted by him from 2000 years to the current 7700 years, which is close to 8000 years. The increase in the age of the spirit bone brought him enormous spiritual power, and coupled with the increase in spiritual shock, the spider in front of him didn't even snort, and even before his body was fully exposed, he was instantly killed by Hu Jiu. This was the target Hu Jiu had been waiting for, the human-faced spider. After killing the human-faced demon spider, Hu Jiu stepped forward quickly, and the 5 senses enhancement technique in his mind worked at full force. Feeling everything in the human-faced demon spider's body point after a while, Hu Jiu's face was overjoyed. A dagger appeared in his hand and stabbed straight into the abdomen of the human-faced demon spider where the dagger pierced. A little light was faintly revealed. Haha. Hu Jiu expanded the wound excitedly, and the light inside became brighter, just as Hu Jiu stretched out his hand and was about to take out the contents. A stern shout sounded. Stop, go away. Hu Jiu rubbed his wrist on the human-faced demon spider, and even without doing it, he put it directly into his soul tool point. It was only then that he turned around and looked at the master with a sullen look on his face. That's right, the person who stopped him just now was the master who was brought over by Flender. Do you want to die? Hu Jiu's face was deep, and the murderous intent in his eyes was undisguised. This external spirit bone was obtained by his ability, and whoever dared to attack it, he would kill anyone. Naughty. Xiao Gang is your teacher, how could you treat him like this? Flender looked at Hu Jiu sternly. No matter what, the master was the teacher of the academy, and Hu Jiu, a student, showed murderous intent to the teacher. What is the difference between bullying teachers and destroying ancestors? There is only one teacher for me. He is nothing but a teacher. He is also worthy of being my teacher. Hu Jiu showed a rebellious expression, and the killing intent in his eyes did not diminish in the slightest. Hey, you bastard, what are you doing? If you want to turn the world upside down, talk about it. Xiao Wuji came to Hu Jiu and pretended to slap on Hu Jiu's head, but his body, intentionally or unintentionally, put him on the head behind yourself. Yes, Xiao Gang, why did you tell Hu Jiu to stop? Only then did Flender come back to his senses. What's going on? Why did Master and Hu Jiu react so much? The Master's face was gloomy, and he was silent, and did not speak. Master. Flender looked at him angrily. It's all this time, what else are you pretending to be? Where's my soul beast? 9. Brother? At this moment, Oscar's excited shout came, but when he saw the scene of the 4 playing against each other, his voice stopped abruptly. Xiao Wu, come here. Seeing Xiao Wu's figure, Hu Jiu suddenly relaxed. To say that Hu Jiu trusted the most, Xiao Wu was the only one. What? Seeing Hu Jiu's expression, Xiao Wu panicked in her heart and directly activated the instant soul skill and came to his side in a flash. Haha, I don't want to say it. Why don't you dare to say it? Hu Jiu looked at the master mockingly and gave Xiao Wu a look that was ready to act. There is nothing to say. The soul beast that Hu Jiu hunted just now has a soul bone, the master said lightly. What? Maybe. Oscar and Mahanjan are still unfamiliar with these 2 words, but apart from them, everyone else was shocked when they heard the word soul bones. That is what all soul masters dream of. This was obtained by Hu Jiu. How not to shock them? Hu Jiu's eyes swept away, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Otherwise, all his plans will be disrupted. Master, what do you mean? The thing belongs to my disciple. Do you want to rob it? Xiao Wuji's eyes erupted with violent murderous intent. His aura was much more powerful than Hu Jiu just now. It was the difference between a sea and a small river. Humph. The master groaned and involuntarily vomited a mouthful of blood under Xiao Wuji's murderous aura. Teacher, are you alright? Tang San hurried to Grandmaster's side. Zuan Xiangang worked and put his soul power into Grandmaster's body. Forget it, Leo Xiao. After so many years of friendship, give me a face and let me handle it. Flender came to the master and blocked the master behind him. Of course I want to give Boss Fu's face, but I can't control this bastard. If he's not satisfied, it's none of my business. Xiao Wuji grinned and slowly took back his aura. I will give everyone a satisfactory explanation. Flender said to everyone with a heavy face, then turned around, looked at the master and said, Xiao Gang, you are no longer the Xiao Gang I know. Let's go. My Shrek can't keep you. As Soon as these words came out, it was equivalent to severing his friendship with the master for Flanders, who is very emotional. This is an extremely difficult decision point, but this is not the case. Grandmaster not only offended Hu Jiu's master and apprentice, but also his own direct disciple Mahanjan. Needless to say, Damu Bei, the two are already on the same page. What is coming? Okay, I'll go. Grandmaster's eyes were indifferent, turning to look at Tang San, who was still channeling his spirit power. Little San, I'll teach you everything that should be taught to you. The rest is practice. I'll teach you this too. No, you. This time, it's the teacher who is anxious, so don't blame them. From now on, you will stay in Shrek well, and only here can you develop better, teacher. Tang San wanted to let go of everything and leave with the master, but he couldn't say it. Here, there is his brother, and just like the teacher said, only in Shrek can you make yourself stronger. He didn't forget his father's heart-piercing cry when he was just born, and his figure who used alcohol to relieve his worries all day long. These all require strength. Okay, you are a man. Don't be a mother-in-law. Don't worry if the teacher is gone. The master was also decisive. Seeing that there was no room for him, he immediately turned around and left without stopping point. If you don't go, you probably won't be able to go. Zao. Jiu, you also give me a face and make the teacher a big one, okay? After watching the master leave, Flender turned around and said to Hu Jiu with a gentle face, okay. Hu Jiu was silent for a moment, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. As long as he doesn't come to provoke me, let him go. Let go. Is it possible? The master knows a lot of his secrets. If he exposes his secrets and is approached by someone, where will he go to reason? I seem to be writing high. Chapter 125 Murder Now. The master had just left, and 3 figures rushed towards them in the other direction. 2 of the figures were seen only 2 days ago. Snake Pio and Meng still. As for the other, needless to say, it is Duke Long. Duke Long was tall and thin, with 2 yellow, 3 purple, and 3 black under his feet. 8 spirit rings slowly rhythm, exuding a powerful aura all over his body. Seeing Duke Long, Hu Jiu became anxious and quickly looked at Zhao Wu. This time, Zhao Wu was nervously shoveling down a carrot of transformation, shrinking her body's breath, and after she was done, she gave Hu Jiu a reassuring look. Why? Is it you again? Meng still looked annoyed at the fat man in the crowd, then hugged Duke Long's arm and said coquettishly, Grandpa, it's them. They bully your granddaughter. You have to decide for me. I have seen you all before, but I didn't expect that we would meet again here. Long Pio showed a kind smile. Then he pointed to the fat man in the crowd, turned his head to Duke Long and said, it's this guy. What do you think? Well, the flame on the body is strong. This is the atmosphere of the top martial arts. Not bad. Duke Long's eyes were bright. He glanced at the fat man and finally nodded in satisfaction. Fatty, what are you doing? Hurry up to greet him. Hu Jiu quietly kicked Mahanjan, which is a sightless thing. Kid Mahanjan, I've seen Elder Long Gong and Long Pio, and I've seen Miss Yuri. Mahanjan came to the 3 of them at a loss, facing Duke Long's scrutinizing gaze. Mahanjan only felt his scalp numb, and he became extremely shy. Okay. The old lady has already told me about your affairs, and I think it's fine. Duke Long looked at the honest fat man and smiled. Grandpa, if I don't do it, you bully me too. Meng still stomped his feet reluctantly, his face blushing ashamed, almost making Mahanjan drool again. Don't be ridiculous. Duke Long patted Meng Yilan lightly, then looked at Zhao Walqi and Flender. It seems that your academy is really good. It has taught so many talented disciples. I don't know if you still, whether you accept students or not. What do you think of my granddaughter? Zhao Walqi and Flend looked at each other and smiled. Of course, the granddaughter of Senior Duke Long is a genius wherever she goes, and we can't ask for it. Well, I agree with your disciple, and still, after a while, I will take her to your academy and let them cultivate their relationship first. As soon as Duke Long said these words, Fatty was ecstatic, and even looking at Meng Yiran's eyes heated up. Meng still looked ashamed and annoyed, gave Fatty a fierce look, buried his head on Long Pio, and couldn't lift it up. Thank you, Senior. Mahanjan bowed respectfully. Also called Senior, Long Po reminded with a smile, hey, I've seen my mother-in-law and grandpa. Fatty was also shameless. Hearing this, he immediately climbed up the pole, recognized his relatives on the spot, and settled the matter. Haha, okay, then we will be in-laws. Hangjin is my direct disciple. We will get closer in the future. Flender stood up. This kind of happy event made him even feel a lot of depression when the master left. This is the granddaughter of the unparalleled dragon and snake. As long as the marriage is formed, Mahangjin will not have to worry in this life. It's easy to say, easy to say. Duke Long looked at Flender in surprise. It turned out that he was the teacher of this little fat man. By the way, have you seen a human-faced demon spider? We tracked it here and found that its aura disappeared. As soon as these words came out, everyone in Shrek froze for a moment. The human-faced demon spider and the corpse were all taken away by Hu Jiu, and even the spirit ring, because there was no corpse to drag it, also drifted into the distance with the wind. Senior, the human-faced spider is the best at hiding, and it can also burrow into the ground. Maybe the human-faced spider you're looking for has already been hidden. Tang San raised his head and explained, well, this beast is cunning. I've been chasing it for several days, but I didn't expect it to escape in the end. Duke Long nodded and said disappointedly, in that case, let's go first. I go look for it. This spirit beast is very suitable for the third spirit ring. Walk slowly. Goodbye, Zao. Wowki and Flend laughed as they watched the unrivaled dragon and snake family leave. Let's go, Zao Jiu. Let's continue searching for soul beasts for Zao Ao. Zao Wuji gave everyone a wink, never mentioning the matter of soul bones. Yeah. Hu Jiu glanced at everyone with a smile, and then took the lead in finding the soul beast again. In order to avoid some soul beasts, and also for the needless killing, Hu Jiu led a group of people around, and in the end they almost couldn't even tell the direction. However, if you can look down from the sky, you can find that, although Hu Jiu has been shifting directions, he has always moved forward in one direction. In the evening, everyone began to station and repair. Hu Jiu quietly made a gesture with Zhao Wu, and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. Zhao Wu glanced at Tang San, who was sitting on a rock in a daze in the distance, a little hesitant. But Hu Jiu didn't care about this, and still looked at Zhao Wu firmly. Finally, Zhao Wu nodded, and got into the tent with Hu Jiu. After a series of complicated and bizarre gestures, Hu Jiu seemed to feel a change in Zhao Wu. And it seemed that nothing had happened. But judging from Zhao Wu's relaxed eyes, what she has to do has been completed. At 10:10 in the middle of the night, Hu Jiu quietly teleported out and came to the forest 3 miles away. There, a huge figure stood quietly. Hu Jiu's eyes lit up with a gleam of light, and he used his huge mental ability to directly reflect the position and appearance of the master into the Titan giant ape's mind. Ming, do me a favor, help me kill this man, and also, dispose of his body, so that no one can find it. The murderous intention appeared in Hu Jiu's eyes, and the master could not stay. Having read the original work, he has some understanding of the master, not to mention the relationship with Liu Erlong. They haven't seen each other for more than 20 years. The scum is really scum. I remember Yu Xian Heng reunited with the master after he was defeated by the Shrek 7 devils. Yu Xian Heng said that his grandfather, the master's father, missed him very much and often stared at his portrait in a daze and asked him to go back to see his grandfather. As a result, the master did not want to go home to take a look. Even his parents did not want to be a son of man in vain and regarded as unfilial. Later, Yu Xian Heng asked the master to teach him and help him improve his strength. Grandmaster's answer was also very interesting. He said, if you want to become a great spirit master, then aim for my disciple Tang San. By the time you surpass him, you must already be at the top of the continent. What is this? Even if you don't teach it, it will give you an insurmountable goal, which is really a godlike answer. Others don't know Tang San's cultivation talent. Doesn't he know? Innately full of soul power and dual martial souls. Is this what Yu Xian Heng can surpass? Therefore, ruthlessness, infidelity and filial piety are completely no problem in the head of the master, but none of this has anything to do with Hu Jiu. What has to do with him is that the master should never provoke himself. Treasures are tempting. If there is a bonus from Spirit Bones, Grandmaster Strength will definitely be able to break through the 30th level, or even higher. Can Grandmaster resist such a temptation? There are also cultivation carrots, and the promotion of spirit ring levels. These are all secrets. In order to avoid future troubles, I can only ask the master to die. Master, don't blame me. Blame you for being impure. Hu Jiu thought lightly when he saw Ermin quietly leaving point tell a horror story. Why did some book friends guess my follow-up plot? It's a failure. Thank you Sakura. Sakura has rewarded again. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.